Chapter 1082. Idiot, it's fine as long as I like you. Why do I care about other people? Yi Juetian lightly rubbed Yi's beautiful hair, his heart aching endlessly. Yay, you and that girl. Originally, Yi didn't want to ask, but she couldn't help but feel sour in her heart. Yi, don't worry, there's nothing going on between me and that girl. We've already agreed that she's willing to help me. The reason why I can come out to see you tonight is also because she helped me hide it. She's a good person. Yi Juetian tightly held Yi's delicate hand, wanting to give her a sense of security. Really? Yi was overjoyed. She immediately felt happy and swept away the unhappiness of the day. Yes. Then I have to properly thank her. Go and ask her what she likes, I will buy it for her. Yi Juetian lightly caressed Yi's face and said gently, I will do all these. From now on, no matter what I say, it will be for Big Brother and Mother to hear. Yes, I understand. I'm not sad, I'm not sad. Yi Juetian hugged Yi into his embrace. I truly feel sorry for this foolish girl, to actually let her suffer so much. Yay, your embrace is so warm. I really want to lie in your embrace forever. That way, I won't be cold anymore. Yi lightly rubbed against Yi Juetian's chest. She said that she was cold, but her heart was actually cold. Yi Juetian lightly caressed Yi's back. If you feel comfortable, then lean on her for a while longer. Yi, promise me. Don't lie to me, okay? Yi slowly raised her head and said seriously. Alright, I promise you, I won't lie to you in this lifetime. Yi Juetian pinched Yi's little face and revealed a smile. Yes, Yi, I believe in you. Yi also revealed a joyful smile, appearing so natural. The two of them stared at each other deeply. Yi seemed to be a little shy, not daring to look directly at Yi Juetian's fiery gaze. Meanwhile, Yi Juetian slowly lowered his head. His heart was beating like a jumping egg, violently trembling. Kissing Yi's lips, it felt so sweet, her first kiss was gone just like that. At this moment, Yi's eyes were wide open. Her kiss was gone. It was snatched away by Ye. However, she was willing to do so. Gradually, Yi relaxed and closed her eyes. However, in the darkness, Gongyu narrowed her eyes as she looked at the two people hiding in a corner. Yi Juetian. As the younger brother of such a powerful figure, you actually like a palace maid. If such a thing were to spread out, where would your big brother put his face? But don't worry, I'll take back my face. How can I not deal with a little palace maid? What right do you have to snatch my man from me? Yi Juetian, you will be mine in the future. Who asked you to have an affair? Gongyu gradually disappeared into the darkness. In a misty land, immortal mists swirled about. 5-colored rainbows shuttled through the mountain forests. It was beautiful beyond compare. However, there was a courtyard in the mountains that seemed rather unique. At this moment, Dong Huanging landed at the entrance of the courtyard and heaved a sigh of relief. This time, he was here to send a congratulatory gift. Dong Huanging was also very curious. Who was this Meng Yao? He heard that she was a very powerful woman in this world, and this time, she was undergoing tribulation. If she successfully crossed the tribulation, she would become the first female deity. Just how glorious was that? She would be on equal footing with a few great figures. Even the Eastern royal family had to send a congratulatory gift. It could be seen how important it was. I am Dong Huanging, and I am here to send a congratulatory gift. Dong Huanging stood at the entrance and shouted lightly. His voice was a bit high-pitched. There's no helping it, the lamp's wick had already been extinguished. Right after Dong Huanging finished speaking, a lump of immortal mist appeared in front of Dong Huanging, and a young lady who wore a white dress could be seen. The young lady bowed slightly and said, "So it's someone from the Eastern royal family. You are very courteous, please come in." "Thank you," Dong Huanging said with a smile, then followed the young lady into the courtyard. From the outside, the courtyard didn't look big, but after walking in, one would discover that it was a completely different world. It felt just like a small city. People were coming and going, and it was extremely lively. Furthermore, all of these people's expressions were filled with happiness, not a single one of them was frowning. Dong Huanging became curious and asked in a low voice, "Young lady, why are these people smiling so happily?" Of course, Ant is going to become the first female deity in the 9 provinces and 5 seas very soon. Therefore, everyone is happy for Ant. The young lady's face was filled with excitement and worship. "I see." Dong Huanging nodded. "Deity, that's F** King Invincible. Young lady, may I know when your aunt will come out of seclusion?" Dong Huanging asked curiously. "I'm not sure, maybe a few days, maybe a few months, maybe a few thousand years." Dong Huanging nodded. This tribulation is truly F** King terrifying. One has to taste the joys and sorrows of the human world in order to become a deity. Dong Huanging had heard some rumors before. Normally, only males would be able to pass through all the tribulations, because males were more stable and more ruthless. However, females were different. Especially when it came to the tribulation of love, ordinary people wouldn't be able to pass through it. I wonder what kind of tribulation Meng Yao is going through this time. Soon, the young lady brought Dong Huanging into an ordinary residence. However, everyone knew that a female deity was going to appear in this residence very soon. "Young Master Dong Huang, please take a short rest in the main hall." "Alright, thank you for your hard work." Dong Huanging nodded. In the main hall, other than Dong Huanging, there were a few other people who came to send their congratulatory gifts. Those who came to send their congratulatory gifts were all noble and respectable families in the 9 provinces and 5 seas, just like Dong Huang family. However, Dong Huanging didn't know these people. After coming here for a few months, this was his first time going out. "Dong Huang is here too." At this moment, a man laughed softly. Dong Huanging glanced at the man's attire. This man was wearing a green robe. He should be from the Jiang family. As the descendant of a sovereign, he shouldn't be underestimated. "Brother Jiang." Dong Huanging cupped his hands and shouted in a low voice. If he wanted to survive in the 9 provinces and 5 seas, he would need resources. Now that he finally got the chance to come out, he should definitely make friends with some people. When the time comes, he would have someone to take revenge on. Jiang Min also cupped his hands and shouted, "Brother Dong Huang, you are too polite." The few people at the side obviously didn't want to join in. They sat quietly and drank their tea with arrogant expressions. Those who came to send their congratulatory gifts didn't mean that they were important people in the family, just like Dong Huanging. "Brother Jiang, please sit." "Brother Dong Huang, please sit." The two of them were just bragging. Hearing the few people at the side shaking their heads, it was really embarrassing. "I don't know when this aunt will come out of seclusion. I want to see her in person," Dong Huanging also said. However, he was curious why everyone called her aunt. The people in this place were really weird. What if someone called her father in the future? Jiang Min said softly, "Brother Dong Huang, I'm afraid this aunt won't come out of seclusion so soon." "Why?" "I heard from the family head that this woman would usually go through the tribulation of love last. And the tribulation of love is the most fatal for a woman. However, this aunt is very talented. She might be different from other women." Chapter 1083. So that's how it is. After succeeding, it'll be glorious. I'm so envious. Dong Huanging said lightly. If I can also become a god, I will be able to kill Yi Hua with just a fart. The Empress will definitely worship me. Of course. Apart from the Nuwa clan that has disappeared for a long time, and is the only one who has reached this level. Jiang Min sighed. Dong Huanging nodded his head. The number of women who could rise to power could be counted with one hand, and most of them were men. At this moment, a woman with an ethereal temperament slowly walked out, followed by two young girls. Everyone, you've come from afar. We only have simple food here. Please forgive us. Everyone was polite. After all, the other party was about to become a deity. They could be rude in the past, but now they had to be respectful unless they failed the tribulation. Everyone's accommodations have been arranged. I hope everyone can have a good time here. After saying that, he gave a few instructions and turned to leave. Dong Huanging asked in a low voice, "Who is this woman?" "This is Auntie's cousin. She's a very powerful woman. Don't provoke her. She hates men the most," Jiang Min whispered. Dong Huanging thought to himself, this woman must have been hurt by a man in the past, if not, why would she hate that man so much? Without love, where would the hate come from? Just like himself. In the beginning, he really hated the Empress for not marrying him. But only later did he realize that this kind of hatred was actually more of love. He had already fallen deeply in love with the Empress. In this life, for the Empress, he was willing to do anything. Within Voidless Empire's imperial palace, Yi Juetian, who had just had a private meeting with Yi, happily returned to his sleeping quarters. Upon thinking about how I kissed Yi just now, I felt so happy. I have never been so happy in my entire life. Yi's lips are so sweet. Thinking to there, Yi Juetian deeply sighed. So this was the feeling of liking a girl. If only he was an ordinary person, then no one would say anything. You're back. Gong Yu stood up and smiled. When Yi Juetian saw Gong Yu, he smiled slightly and said, I really have to thank you. How are you going to thank me? Gong Yu asked mischievously. Just now, Yi was asking what you liked. She was going to buy it for you. After Gong Yu heard this, she thought to herself, what do I like? I'm afraid Yi won't be willing to give it to me. But it doesn't matter. Even if you don't give it to me, I can still snatch it from you. Yi is really a good girl. You have to treat her well. Gong Yu smiled gently, appearing very sensible. Yi Juetian's impression of Gong Yu was also rising. However, this impression was only between friends. After all, Gong Yu was helping him right now. Furthermore, she was helping him as his fiancée. This was a great kindness. It's getting late, let's rest early, Yi Juetian said subconsciously. Then where will you arrange for me to sleep? Gong Yu smiled lightly. It had to be said that Gong Yu was indeed very beautiful. If Yi was not here, Yi Juetian would definitely like her. After all, Gong Yu had a good figure, a pretty face, and strength. Furthermore, she was very obedient. There were very few women like this in the world. I forgot. I'm really sorry. I'll ask Big Brother to arrange it. Are you stupid? You let your big brother arrange it. Isn't it because you're not satisfied with me? Gong Yu said snappily. Yi Juetian suddenly came to a realization. He had been too happy just now and had overlooked it. Then what should we do? If we want your big brother and mother to be at ease, we have to live together. Gong Yu had now become a strategist. This was what Gong Yu wanted to see. She wanted to first obtain Yi Juetian's trust. Live together. Yi Juetian deeply frowned. If he really lived together with Gong Yu, Yi would definitely find out. Yi knew that she would definitely be very sad. However, no matter how sad she was, she would still smile at him. Looking at Yi's smile, his heart also felt a dull pain. However, if he did not create this kind of illusion and pretend to be satisfied, what would happen if his big brother and mother made things difficult for Yi? Gong Yu nodded. We are going to get married in the future. Although it's all fake, we still have to put on a show, don't you think so? Yi Juetian did not reply and sank into deep thought. Gong Yu slightly sighed and said gently, if you really are not willing, then I'll go and explain the situation. I'll just say that I don't like you, and I'll accept the result. Don't. Yi Juetian said solemnly. Hearing Yi Juetian stop her, Gong Yu was still very happy. He really knew how to care for girls. However, Yi Juetian was actually thinking that he had finally found a helper. Even if she left, there would still be a second one. At that time, it was unknown whether or not she would help him, so he could not do that. Let's go into the room and rest. Gong Yu was very happy in her heart. Don't worry, I won't take advantage of you. I'll sleep on the floor. Yi Juetian was amused. Look at what you're saying, it's more like I'm taking advantage of you. Do you dare? Gong Yu stuck out her tongue, looking like she was teasing him. I really don't dare. Haha, coward. Gong Yu laughed. The surrounding palace maids all heard this laughter and felt that they were really compatible. The news of Yi Juetian and Gong Yu sleeping together would definitely spread. After all, so many palace maids saw it. After walking into the room, Gong Yu said gently, I'll just sleep on the floor. How can that be? There's a bed in the small room at the side. You can sleep there. Yi Juetian said softly. Gong Yu thought that she was going to sleep on the bed at the side, but she was arranged to sleep at another place. Alright, that's right, what are you planning to do from now on? Are you really going to fake your marriage with me? Gong Yu suddenly asked. Yi Juetian let out a breath. For now, this is the only way. My big brother is so powerful that it makes one's hair stand up in anger. I won't be able to run away at all. Is your big brother that powerful? And his power is something that you won't be able to imagine. Yi Juetian felt a headache. If only I didn't ask my big brother to find a wife for me back then. Oh, you should find some place to rest then. And you rest early too. Gong Yu walked into her own small room and closed the door. Her expression gradually tensed up. Fake marriage. That doesn't exist. Yi Juetian, could it be that I, Gong Yu, am unable to attract you? I don't believe it. Right now, Yi was living in the palace maid's room. The room was like those kind of dormitories where a lot of maids slept in a row. A smile appeared on the corner of Yi's mouth, and from time to time, Yi would touch her lips. That feeling just now was so subtle, and the more Yi thought about it, the shy Yi felt. Yi lightly bit onto her lips and covered her head with the blanket. Right when Yi was reminiscing about that feeling, a few palace maids walked in and were currently chatting with each other. Just now, I saw that Prince Yi and that fiancé of his were chatting and laughing, and I feel that they are so compatible. Chapter 1084. Ah, what's going on? What's going on? This matter has already spread out in the palace. Prince Ye's fiancée is going to be the prince's wife in the future, and just now, they even walked into the bedroom together. Who knows, they might be doing shameful things right now. The palace maid said with an envious expression, wishing that she could also be favored. Shoo shoo shoo, shameless. And you still say that I'm shameless. Do you like Prince Yi too? Prince Yi is so handsome, I will definitely like him. Yi, who was hiding in the quilt, heard everything. Just a moment ago, she was still filled with happiness, but right now, she immediately felt heartache. They all thought that Ye and that girl were a good match, and they were even talking and laughing. Also, and even walked into the bedroom together. No. Ye did this on purpose. Ye even reminded me just now, that must be the case. I have to empathize with Ye. Just as Yi finished thinking, she immediately felt cold. Yi sat up and touched onto her forehead. It's all wet, even her hair is wet from the rain. A few palace maids stood in front of her, and one of them was holding onto a wooden bucket. I didn't hold onto the bucket properly, I'm really sorry. The palace maid that splashed the water said with a weird voice. She was obviously jealous of Yi's beauty. Yi touched onto the wet quilt and said softly, "It's all right." Following Yi's words, the palace maids went into a daze for a moment, then immediately laughed. So she is a fool. Yi sat up and hugged onto her quilt, preparing to take it out to dry. However, how could these extremely jealous palace maids possibly let Yi off so easily? When Yi walked over, one of the palace maids stretched out her leg. Yi didn't even pay attention and was directly pushed onto the ground. "Ah!" Yi shouted out in pain. Originally, the quilt was only wet, but now, it was dirty, and even her clothes were dirty. Yi, why are you so careless? You need to open your eyes when walking." The palace maid said with a mean tone. The meaning of mockery was very obvious. Yi slightly lowered her head and said lightly, "I'm sorry." The palace maids all had a smile of disdain on their faces and silently scolded Yi for being an idiot. "I really want to shave that face of hers, just looking at it makes me so annoyed." Foxy. Yi, who walked outside, let out a sigh of relief when she heard the disdainful scolding that came from inside the room. "Everyone hates me, am I that unlikable?" She fetched some clean water and washed the bedding on this windy night. Suddenly, the mirror inside his clothes vibrated, and a faint sound came from inside. Yi. Hearing Yi Juetian's voice, Yi's mood immediately became better, and she hurriedly took out a small mirror. "Yay!" Yi shouted happily. Yi Juetian laid on the bed and frowned slightly. In the mirror, Yi's hair was dripping wet. Moreover, it was already so late, why was she still outside? "What's wrong? Is your hair wet?" Yi Juetian asked with concern. "Oh, I just took a bath and my hair hasn't dried yet." "Don't worry, Yay." Even though she felt very wronged, Yi did not say anything. She did not want to cause trouble for Yi Juetian, and she felt that she was a big trouble. Yi Juetian's heart ached when he saw this. "Yi, don't stay out so late at night. Hurry up and go back to sleep. The temperature at night is also very low." Yay, I understand." Yi nodded, as though she wanted to ask something, but didn't dare to. Yi Juetian seemed to understand what Yi was thinking about, so he took the mirror and shook it. "Yi, I am sleeping alone." Seeing that Ye was sleeping alone, Yi revealed a smile. She was really stupid, why would Ye lie to her? I understand," Yi said with a gentle smile. "Yi, I suddenly miss you." Yi Juetian really wanted to hug this soft and weak girl in his arms and protect her for the rest of her life. Yi suddenly revealed a beautiful smile. Yi Juetian dared to swear that this was the most beautiful smile he had ever seen. "Yay, I miss you too." Yi Juetian suddenly felt that his heart and Yi's were tightly linked together, as though they couldn't be separated no matter what. "Yi, hurry up and go back to sleep, if not you will catch a cold." "I will go back to sleep immediately." "Be obedient." Yi Juetian stretched out his hand and touched Yi in the mirror, a doting look on his face. Yi nodded, "I will always listen to you." "Good." After cutting off the connection, Yi Juetian kept the mirror and went to sleep with a blissful smile on his face. Yi did the same. She slowly kept the mirror, then washed the bedding with a smile on her face, washing away all of the stains. After leaving the bedding to dry, Yi let out a breath, then walked back to the room. The bedding is gone, Yi had no other choice but to climb onto her bed and roll up her body. Although it was very cold, her heart felt warm, because there was Ye in her heart. The next day, before the sun had even risen, Yi woke up because she had to prepare for work. Achoo! Yi, who was holding onto the broom, couldn't help but sneeze. She thought to herself, I definitely caught a cold last night. What's wrong? Dodgy walked by and asked. Yi hurriedly lowered her head, I'm fine. Be more careful when you do things today, don't be careless anymore, understand? Dodgy warned. She had already broken all kinds of things yesterday, and Master's mother seemed to have an opinion about it. If it really doesn't work, then I will just get someone else to serve in the room. Yi said with an anxious expression, and I will definitely correct myself. Dodgy nodded, I will go and prepare breakfast. Tidy up the room a bit and serve the Empress Dowager well. Yes. Yi replied respectfully. The Empress Dowager is Ye's mother, I must definitely give her a good impression. I did a lot of wrong things yesterday, and although the Empress Dowager didn't say anything, I feel that she is blaming me a bit. I must definitely do things properly. Seeing that the Empress Dowager was preparing to get up, Yi hurriedly walked over to serve the Empress Dowager. Lu Jing looked at the careful Yi and said softly, Yi, take your time, there is no need to be nervous. Yi, who was currently tidying up Lu Jing's clothes, went into a daze. The Empress Dowager actually didn't blame me, and even consoled me. This is great. Empress Dowager, I was clumsy and broke a lot of things yesterday. Yi took the initiative to admit her mistake, and this made Lu Jing feel gratified. To be able to admit one's mistake bravely, that means that one is a good child. Lu Jing smiled gently, just be more careful in the future. I understand. Yi was very touched. Ye's mother treats me so well, I should treat Ye's mother well as well. Lu Jing nodded her head, go and prepare the medicine for me first, I will drink it later. I will go right now. Wait. Does the Empress Dowager have any other instructions? Yi turned around and asked doubtfully. Lu Jing asked curiously, did Dodgy tell you how to prepare the medicine? She told me everything. Lu Jing nodded her head, go. Chapter 1085. Yi bowed and retreated. She first poured a cup of water and then opened the box. 5 small bottles laid quietly in the exquisite box. One look and one could tell that they were treasures. However, treasures like these were directly placed in the hall because there was no need to worry about people stealing them. That was a one-way trip. Yi picked up a small bottle. Dodgy said yesterday that a bowl of water and a drop of spiritual spring water. Yi placed the water and opened the bottle. Immediately, a fragrant smell came out. She even felt that her cold was a little better. Holding the small bottle tightly, Yi carefully poured a drop of spiritual spring water into the water. The color of the water gradually changed. It was very light. Yi frowned. Isn't it a little too little? The Empress Dowager treated me so well just now, so I have to repay her. At the very least, I have to cure the Empress Dowager's illness. That way, Ye would be happy too. Isn't one drop too little? There won't be any medicinal effect. If there is a little more, the Empress Dowager's illness will be cured faster. Yi paused for a moment, then directly poured the entire bottle into the water. Finally, she noticed that the color was slightly thicker. But it still feels like it isn't enough. Looking at the other 5 bottles, Yi felt that as long as Ye's mother's illness is cured, she would definitely look at her in a different light. Ye would also be very happy. With that thought, Yi directly opened the 2nd bottle, the 3rd bottle, and the 4th bottle. Finally, the color of the water completely changed. The pleasant fragrance instantly filled the entire room. It even spread out from the bedroom. The palace maids who were working outside all smelled it. This smell smells so good. They felt much more relaxed and had endless energy. This came from the Empress Dowager's room. Yi looked at her masterpiece and revealed a smile. She felt that as long as the Empress Dowager drank it, she would definitely get better. However, Lu Jing, who was in the room, already smelled it. How can there be such a thick smell? Lu Jing's expression immediately changed. Daji, who was in the kitchen, also smelled it. Her expression changed and she directly disappeared from the kitchen. Empress Dowager, the medicine is here. Yi happily held a bowl of dark green water that emitted a thick smell. Lu Jing looked at the medicine in Yi's hands. Her hands were trembling. How much spiritual spring water did she pour in for it to become this color? At that moment, Daji appeared in the room. Looking at the empty bottle on the table, her expression was extremely terrible. Lu Jing looked at Yi and asked, "Do you know how important this medicine is?" Yi lowered her head as if she did not understand the meaning in his words. She said in a joyful tone, "The medicine used to treat the Empress Dowager is definitely precious." Yi feels that the stronger the medicine, the faster the illness will heal and the earlier the Empress Dowager will recover. Lu Jing held on to his forehead. This medicine caused the entire Yi family to decline. This medicine caused Xiao Tian to run everywhere and beg people. This medicine caused Yuqing to almost marry someone she didn't like, and today, it actually, Daji, who was standing behind, knelt down. "Empress Dowager, please punish me." Daji knew that she had already caused trouble because this concerned the life of her master's mother. He was too careless. Careless. Yi turned her head around and looked at Daji with a puzzled expression, then looked at Lu Jing, whose face was slightly pale. Suddenly, she felt that he had done something wrong. Right now, the dense aura had already covered the entire palace and was even leaking out from within the palace. Everyone thought that the emperor was concocting some kind of pill. Such a fragrant aura, everyone was shouting, "Long live the emperor." Right now, Yi Hua was currently hugging onto Qian Yuqing as he slept. His hands were still so dishonest, but he didn't touch anyone else. This caused Qian Yuqing to cry, and Qian Yuqing was about to be tortured to death. However, a fragrant aura drifted into the room. The first one to open her eyes was not Yi Hua, but Qian Yuqing. Qian Yuqing sensed the aura, and her expression immediately changed. Soon after, Yi Hua, Qingye, and Dong Huang Baizhi woke up too. However, they did not understand the aura of the spiritual spring, so they felt very confused. "Yi Hua, something happened," Qian Yuqing said gravely. Yi Hua's expression sunk. "What happened?" "This is the aura of the spiritual spring, and it is very dense. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be such a dense aura, unless there is a lot of it," Qian Yuqing said gravely. "How can there be a lot of it? Could it be that I overturned it?" "That can't be, those bottles are all ancient godly equipment." Yi Hua immediately disappeared from the bed. The spiritual spring was related to Mother's life. Originally, the spiritual spring would have been able to protect Mother for a few years, and when the time comes, Mother would definitely be able to think of a way to save Mother. If there is no spiritual spring left now, time would definitely become pressing. Should I go up and look for Huang Feidi to ask for the spiritual spring? I killed 2 of his sons, and if I were him, I would definitely destroy the spiritual spring with my own hands to take revenge on me. On the other side, Yi Juetian woke up with a start. This aura was all too familiar to him. After all, for so many years, I have been the one who has been serving by his mother's side, and this aura is actually so dense. Thinking back to how Yi was serving by his mother's side, a bad premonition emerged in Yi Juetian's heart. Without even bothering to wear his outer garment, Yi Juetian directly disappeared from the bed. Right now, Gong Yu also sensed it. Seeing how Yi Juetian left so anxiously, something must have definitely happened. Gong Yu hurriedly followed after Yi Juetian. Right now, within the Empress Dowager's bedroom, Daji and Yi were kneeling on the ground, and a bowl of dense spiritual spring was placed on the table. Drinking a bowl of spiritual spring like this was not something that Lu Jing would be able to endure, and her body would immediately explode. Even Huang Feidi wouldn't drink it like this. After all, that was equivalent to suicide. Right now, Yi Hua was not wearing his outer garment, and he appeared at the door. "Long live your majesty!" The palace maids that were kneeling on the ground shouted out. Yi Hua's entire body was emitting out an ice-cold aura, and when they saw the small bottle that was opened on the table, everyone could feel that the emperor was already on the verge of going berserk. At this moment, Yi Juetian also appeared, and when he saw that there was only a small bottle left in the brocade box, he immediately felt a bit dizzy. Especially when he saw Yi kneeling on the ground, buzzing sounds rang out in his head. Very quickly, Qing Ye and the others also arrived, and they were also not wearing their outer garment. When Qian Yuqing saw the scene on the table, she immediately held on to her forehead. As expected, Gong Yu was standing at the back, and she didn't know what was going on, but when she saw that her big brother's expression was very bad, she knew that this matter wasn't simple. When she saw that Yi was kneeling on the ground, she knew that this matter was definitely related to her. "I didn't expect that before I even made a move, you would already cause a huge disaster. How is Jietian going to save you?" Right now, Yi Juetian's mind was filled with thoughts on how to save Yi. Although Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji didn't understand, they understood that those small bottles were filled with medicine that could save Grandma's life. Right now, Yi Hua was still thinking of a way to completely get rid of Grandma's illness, and in the end, the medicine that could be used for a few years was used up in an instant, and there was only one bottle left. If Yi Hua didn't find a way to treat Grandma's illness in time, then Grandma will die. Yi Hua slowly walked towards his mother, and when he looked at the bowl on the table, even the color of the bowl actually became so thick. Just how much spiritual spring did I put in this bowl? Chapter 1086. Mother, I will have a way. Yi Hua said gravely. While tightly holding on to his mother's hand, worry could be seen deep within his eyes. It was very rare for Yi Hua to worry about anything, because everything could be smoothly resolved, and there was basically nothing for him to worry about. However, regarding his mother's matter, even Yi Hua himself was unable to resolve it. This made Yi Hua feel that he had lost control over his mother, and this kind of feeling was very bad. This kind of emotion made Yi Hua very angry. A smile appeared on the corner of Lu Jing's mouth as she consoled, "Don't be anxious, Yi Hua, mother is fine." Yi Hua slowly turned his head around and looked towards Daji and Yi who were kneeling on the ground, then said coldly, "There is a problem. Something very big." Who made this bowl of medicine?" Yi Hua stared at Yi. Daji has served mother for a period of time, it is impossible for her to make such a mistake. All that was left was Yi. I shouldn't have let her enter the palace. If I didn't care about Xiaoyan's feelings, would have killed her outside the palace. Daji prostrated herself on the ground and said in pain, "Master, it's my fault for teaching you. Please grant me death." After hearing that, Yi Juetian's complexion became pale. Teaching Yi without any problems, and yet, she has to die as an apology. Then, Yi. Looking at that small and slightly trembling body, Yi Juetian really wanted to bear the consequences together with Yi. But looking at Big Brother's expression, if he were to provoke him again, Yi would definitely die. What should they do now? His mother's medicine had actually been taken away by the girl he liked. This kind of thing made Yi Juetian very upset. Yi directly kowtowed and said with a sobbing tone, "Your Majesty, don't blame Sister Daji. I poured too much. I thought that the Empress Dowager's illness would recover faster if she drank more. I didn't expect this to happen." After hearing Yi Hua's words, Yi Hua's expression became a bit sinister. When Qing Ye and Dong Huang Baiji saw Yi Hua's expression, they became a bit afraid. This was the first time that Yi Hua revealed such an expression, sinister. From the looks of it, Yi had really angered Yi Hua this time. What do you think? What makes you think that? Tell me. What else do you think I am? Yi Hua looked at Yi, who was kneeling by his feet, and shouted out angrily. He was no longer able to maintain his calm. Yi felt a deep sense of fear. Tears the size of beans flowed down her cheeks and fell to the ground. She choked and shouted, I'm sorry, it's all my fault. I should have listened to Sister Dodgy and not made my own decisions. Do you think an apology is enough? Yi Hua fiercely smacked onto the table, causing the entire table to slightly tremble for a bit, and in an instant, the table turned into fine powder. Even that bowl of spiritual spring water had evaporated. If the table was smacked onto a human's body, I reckon that the result would be the same. Qian Yuqing and Yi Juetian didn't dare to say anything because as long as one of them pleaded for Yi, it would be over. Yi Juetian was very worried about his mother's illness, but he was also very worried about Yi. Yi didn't do it on purpose either, it was just that she wanted his mother's illness to recover faster. It was just that she did something bad with good intentions, it wasn't a sin worthy of death. At this moment, Lu Jing said lightly, Yi Hua, all right, don't blame Yi anymore, Yi didn't do it on purpose. Mother, you don't have to bother about this matter anymore. Yi Hua said gravely. Lu Jing exhaled deeply and didn't try to persuade him any further. Yi was very remorseful. It was fine that she broke the vase, but now she caused Ye's mother to have no medicine in the future. Self-blame. Yi felt incomparable self-blame in her heart. Your Majesty, Yi is willing to use death to atone for her crime. Yi kowtowed ferociously towards Yi Hua, and her spotlessly white forehead instantly turned red. Hearing that Yi wanted to use death to atone for her crime, Yi Juetian immediately panicked and took a step forward. Gong Yu hurriedly pulled onto Yi Juetian. A woman's sixth sense was telling her that if Yi Juetian were to stand on Yi's side right now, even he himself would be in danger, because from the looks of it, this big brother of hers doesn't seem to be that compassionate. Indeed, Gong Yu's guess was correct. If Yi Juetian were to plead for Yi right now. If that were to happen, Yi Hua would think that this younger brother of his who didn't even care about his mother's illness and was actually pleading for the main culprit, the consequences of pleading for Yi would be rather severe. Use death to atone for her crime. Yi Hua asked doubtfully, then held onto his forehead and laughed out loud. Yi's body could be seen gradually floating into the air and floating in front of Yi Hua. Meanwhile, Yi Hua stopped laughing and said coldly, Your life. Is it even worthy to be compared with my mother's life? Do you think that your one life would be able to end this kind of wrong? What a joke. Yi Hua. Qingye couldn't help but stand at the side and call out. You shut up. Yi Hua looked towards Qingye coldly and shouted out. The latter was immediately given a fright and didn't dare to say another word. Dong Huang Baiji supported onto Qingye and indicated to Qingye not to say any more. Yi Hua had finally found his birth mother with great difficulty, and it had only been a few days since they met, and yet, his mother's life was about to enter a countdown. Empress Dowager, I'm sorry. Yi looked at Lu Jing and apologized with a sincere tone. I really didn't want such a thing to happen. Yi knew that Yi was standing right behind them, but right now, she didn't have the face to look at Yi. I'm sorry, Yi. I was too stupid, and I brought too much trouble to Yi. Right now, Yi Juetian was waiting for his big brother's final punishment. After that, he would look for an opportunity to protect his mother and Yi. Silly child, it's fine. Lu Jing gave Yi a comforting smile. This made Yi feel even more useless, and she really wanted to just die. Perhaps Yi was planning to die, as she actually closed her eyes and waited for death to descend upon her. However, her mind was filled with Yi's figure. Although it hadn't been long since they came into contact, I have already fallen deeply in love with Yi. This is probably what people call love at first sight. This feeling is really good. I hope that I will be able to meet Yi again in my next life. Looking at Yi, who was wholeheartedly seeking death, Yihua said gravely, "Do you really want to die? I won't let you die that easily. If anything happens to my mother, I will make sure that you won't be able to die even if you wish for death." Men! Yihua shouted out coldly. The sound of armor rubbing against each other could be heard coming from outside of the door. The sound brought along an ice-cold aura, and it caused one's heart to feel cold. "Your Majesty!" Two black-armored soldiers kneeled on one knee and shouted out respectfully. "Drag this woman out and beat her 100 times. Throw her into the imperial prison." Daji was negligent. 40 times. Go back and properly reflect on your actions. Daji let out a breath of relief in her heart, then kowtowed respectfully, "Thank you, Master, for not killing me. Daji is ashamed. I will definitely serve Master wholeheartedly in the future. Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing me." Yi imitated Daji and shouted out. However, right now, Yi Juetian's face had become pale and powerless. Daji's strength was above mine, and it wouldn't be a problem for Daji to endure 10,000 beatings. However, Yi was just an ordinary person. Forget about 100 beatings, with her weak constitution, 20 beatings would be enough to take her life. Big Brother isn't punishing Yi at all, he is clearly planning to beat Yi to death. Gong Yu, who was standing at the back, let out a breath. This ordinary woman isn't able to endure 100 beatings. Chapter 1087. Yi Juetian and Gong Yu weren't the only ones who thought this way. Qian Yuqing also thought so. 100 hits was no different from death to an ordinary person, let alone a girl. Yihua is going to beat Yi to death. Right now, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were already powerless to help Yihua. In this world, Granny was the person that Yihua respected the most. For something like this to happen, there was basically no way that Yihua could help Yihua at all. Qian Yuqing wanted to speak out and persuade Yihua, but just now, Qingye had already pleaded for leniency on Yihua's behalf, and what she got in return was Yihua's rebuke. My status is completely inferior to Qingye, and if I were to do that, I would only anger Yihua, and at that time, the relationship between me and Yihua would become even more deadlocked. Yi Juetian tightly clenched his fists. His brain was frantically trying to think of a way to let Yi dodge these 100 paddles. To Yihua, for someone who dared to put his loved ones in danger, even the Heavenly King wouldn't be able to save them. 100 times. If you can still live, I will lock you up until you die. You better pray to the heavens, let me find a way to save my mother, that way, I might be able to give you a quick death. Drag them away and execute them. Yihua said coldly. Yes. Daji and Yi were brought out of the house. When the palace maids outside saw this, they were all dumbfounded and quickly knelt down. Just now, he had heard the emperor roar in the room. Something must have happened, and it was a big matter. Very soon, 2 long benches were placed in the middle of the room. Yihua walked out of the room and personally supervised the 2 benches. Yi Juetian looked at Yi, and his heart was in a complete mess. Yi definitely wouldn't be able to take a hit from this black-armored warrior. No. He had to do something. At that moment, Daji and Yi were lying on the bench. The 2 black-armored warriors held wooden planks in their hands. Moreover, they were the large-sized ones that weighed up to 50 jin. Few ordinary people would be able to withstand such a heavy weight being lifted up high and then dropped down heavily. At this time, Qingye recalled the period dramas that she watched in the past. Why would some criminals faint from fear when they heard the sound of being beaten with a wooden plank? This kind of pain was not something that an ordinary person could imagine. Torture didn't sound scary, but it had always been popular in ancient times, and it made sense. The palace maid found 2 pieces of cloth and let Yi and Daji bite on them. They were afraid that they would bite off their tongues in pain. Yi Juetian looked at Yi, who was lying on the bench. Her small and weak body was trembling slightly. If he didn't save her now, it would be too late. Gong Yu didn't say anything. It was better for him to die like this, so she wouldn't have to fight again. With Yi's death, absolute heaven would belong to him alone. However, Yi did not dare to look at Yi Juetian, because she was ashamed. She had indirectly harmed Ye's mother, so death was something she deserved. Ye. I'm sorry, it is Yi who is useless. Originally, I wanted you to be proud of Yi, but such a thing still happened. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, big brother. Just as Yi was quietly feeling guilty, she suddenly heard Ye's voice. She couldn't help but raise her head to look and saw Ye standing beside the emperor with cupped hands. Towards Yi Juetian's actions, those who knew the inside story were all shocked, not knowing what Yi Juetian was going to do. Was this the time to plead for Yi? That would only make Yi Hua even angrier. At this moment, Gong Yu was unable to stop him at all. She could only watch as Yi Juetian angered her big brother. Was this Yi really that important? For her, you did not hesitate to anger your eldest brother. Yi Hua looked at his younger brother coldly and asked faintly, plead for leniency. Hearing Yi Hua's question, the hearts of Qingye and the others sunk. Qian Yuqing's breathing quickened. Little Tian, don't be impulsive. If you plead for leniency right now, Yi will definitely not be able to survive. If Yi is able to survive, there will still be a trace of a chance for her to survive. No. Yi Juetian's tone was very calm, no emotions could be heard from his tone. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Yi Hua went into a slight daze. Qingye and the others were the same, they were all confused as to what Yi Juetian was doing. Then, what do you want to do? Yi Hua asked faintly. Yi Juetian lowered his head and said respectfully, this woman harmed mother's safety. This kind of evil act cannot be tolerated by the heavens, causing me to be extremely furious. Big brother, please allow me to carry out the punishment. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Gong Yu immediately knew what he meant. Qian Yuqing also knew that if Yi Juetian were to be allowed to act, the black-armored warrior would definitely not be lenient. However, if Yi Juetian were to act, he would definitely spare Yi's life. The palace maids and the surroundings finally knew what was going on. So it was this foxy woman who harmed the Empress Dowager. As expected of someone who harbored unfathomable intentions, to actually dare to do such a thing. Look at Prince Yi. Even he is unable to endure it and wants to personally take action and beat this foxy woman to death. How delightful. Although Yi knew that Ye did it on purpose, her heart still ached when she heard this. She really didn't do it on purpose. Tears of grievance fell from her eyes, splashing the dust on the ground. Yi was like a speck of dust, appearing so lowly. Yi Hua slowly closed his eyes, and after pondering for a few seconds, he said faintly, go. Yes. Yi Juetian felt delighted, but he did not show it. He walked over to Yi's side and took the wooden board from the black-armored warrior's hands. Just as he held it in his hands, Yi Juetian felt that it was very heavy. If he were to use this board to smack down, would Yi be able to endure it? Big brother was still watching from above. Even if it was a fake, he had to be careful. Yi, endure it. I will try my best to be gentle. You must endure it. Yi Juetian sent a sound transmission to Yi. As long as you endure through this, there will still be a way to save you. When Yi heard this, she nodded slightly. Let's start. Yi Hua said coldly. Yi Juetian raised the board high up in the air. Then, a whistling wind blew as it descended. Bang! 2 dull sounds rang out. Yi immediately opened her eyes wide from the pain and let out whimpering sounds. Her entire body was trembling non-stop. This was the result of Yi Juetian holding back his strength the moment he landed. Furthermore, he chose to land the wooden board at the same time as the wooden board beside him. The two sounds rang out at the same time. However, Daji's side only had 40 wooden boards. In other words, Yi would be able to easily hit 40 wooden boards. Yi Hua remained silent. This allowed Yi Juetian to let out a sigh of relief. Paw! As the second wooden board landed, cold sweat appeared on Yi's forehead, and her silver teeth bit onto the piece of cloth tightly. Dull sounds rang out in the entire bedroom, and Yi seemed so helpless. The 40 wooden boards on Daji's side ended very quickly, and Daji was fine. Go back and reflect on yourself. Yi Hua said coldly. Yes, master. Daji was feeling incomparably guilty. I still wanted to perform well in front of master, but in the end, I was still punished by master. Right now, Yi Juetian didn't dare to continue anymore. He had already suppressed his strength to the limit. Although Yi wasn't unconscious right now, she was already breathing more than she was breathing. Her pure white dress was already dyed red. Yi Hua didn't say anything and waited quietly. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji couldn't bear to watch anymore and turned their heads away. Chapter 1088. Xian Yuqing was very worried, especially when she saw that Yi's face was completely pale. If this goes on, she will die. Jitian, you won't be able to save her for the remaining 60 hits. The cloth in Yi's mouth had long fallen onto the ground, and right now, she was extremely weak. Her vision was blurry, and she seemed to be unable to feel anything in her body. The only thing she could feel was that Ye was standing beside her, trying her best to save her. Come. Yi said weakly. Her tone made Qingye and the others' heart ache. It was rare to see such a strong girl. In order to not make things difficult for little Tian, she was willing to suffer by herself. Little Tian had truly found the right person. At least, this was what Xian Yuqing thought. Love, strength, and background had nothing to do with love. This was how a pair of people who loved each other would think for each other. It was very touching. At this moment, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji thought about what happened to little Tian, and they also thought about their children. After Granny's crisis is resolved, we must definitely tell Yi Hua that the children are looking for someone they love, not some prestigious family. No matter how angry you get, you will still persevere. Yi Juetian took a deep breath, his heart was in so much pain that he couldn't breathe. If it was possible, he really wanted to take Yi's place and bear this crime. Raising the board high up, Yi Juetian sent out a sound transmission. Yi, persevere for a while more, it will be over soon. Yi did not say anything, her delicate hands were tightly grabbing onto the legs of the stool. Right now, Yi Juetian was unable to fake it, so he could only try his best to hold back his strength and ensure that it was within Yi's tolerance range. However, Yi Juetian was unable to understand the pain that Yi was going through. To an ordinary person, no matter how light the pain was, it would still cause Yi's soul to tremble from the pain. Muffled sounds rang out one after another, drifting within the sleeping quarters. Yi persisted, but her consciousness was already becoming more and more blurry, and the hands that were grabbing onto the legs of the stool loosened as well. Poochie! Yi immediately coughed out a mouthful of blood, which dyed the ground red. It was clear that she had suffered a very serious internal injury, and blood was continuously flowing out from the corner of her mouth. When Yi Juetian saw this, the corner of his mouth trembled, and the board that was raised high up stopped in the air, not being swung down. At this moment, Yi Juetian experienced what despair was. In order to save his woman, he actually almost killed her. Yi Juetian screamed in his heart. I'm just this useless. He couldn't even save the woman he liked, and he even made her suffer like this. Are you tired? Do you want to trade? Yihua asked faintly. Yihua didn't give him any chance at all. From Yihua's actions in the past, it could be seen that women who provoked Yihua would basically all die in despair. In Qian Yuqing's incident, Yihua forced Huang Feidi's son to die, and the reason why Huang Feidi died in front of Yihua was because Yihua wanted to make Huang Feidi feel despair. Death was too simple, and living in pain was even more despair than dying. Not to mention his mother. This was a hard-won kinship. Unforgivable. Yi Juetian respectfully replied, "No." "Then what are you waiting for? Do you want me to replace you?" Yihua said coldly. Yi Juetian didn't think any further, and the board in his hand fell. When the plank landed, Yi could no longer take it. Her hands drooped limply as she fainted. However, he had only hit 68 times, and there were still 32 more to go. Seeing that Yi had fainted, Yi Juetian felt that his heart was about to split apart. He really wanted to disregard everything and hug her into his embrace, and tell her that his heart was in pain. However, Yi Juetian knew that doing that would only hasten the speed of Yi's death. "Big brother," she fainted. Yi Juetian shouted out loudly. In actuality, the reason why he shouted so loudly was because he wanted to tell his mother who was in the house to save Yi. Right now, only his mother was able to save Yi, the sisters-in-law were completely unable to do anything. Yihua looked towards Yi coldly, and there was still blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth, and the blood dripped onto the ground. Very quickly, Lu Jing's voice rang out in the house, "Yihua, let's just forget about it today. Mother doesn't want to see someone die in the bedroom, it isn't a good omen." After hearing that, Yihua felt that what his mother said was reasonable. He took a look at Yi Juetian, then looked at Yi, then said gravely, "The rest will be made up for in the future. Men. Throw her into the imperial prison." "Yes." The two black armored warriors carried Yi and instantly disappeared from the spot. Meanwhile, Yi Juetian placed both of his hands behind his back, and the palace maids who were standing behind Yi Juetian discovered that Lord Ye's hands were trembling. At this moment, Yihua said gravely, "You all take good care of mother, I will be back soon." After finished speaking, Yihua disappeared from the spot. Following Yihua's departure, everyone seemed to have let out a breath of relief. At the very least, Yi still had a breath of life left and didn't die. However, this kind of result wasn't what Gong Yu wanted. Yi actually managed to escape from this calamity. However, even if Yi managed to escape from this calamity, there wouldn't be anything to be afraid of in the future. Yi Juetian shouted out respectfully, "Mother, sister-in-law, I will be going back first." After finished speaking, Yi Juetian turned around and left. Very quickly, he arrived at the bedroom and immediately locked himself inside the room. Squatting on the ground, Yi Juetian grabbed onto his hair tightly with both of his hands, and his mind was filled with the scene of him hitting Yi just now. Also, that muffled sound that Yi let out, it was clearly very painful, yet, she endured it and didn't shout out. Was she afraid that I would be worried? This foolish woman. "Are you all right?" Suddenly, a gentle voice rang out beside Yihua's ears. Gong Yu could be seen squatting beside Yihua and asking attentively. When Gong Yu saw that Yi Juetian's eyes were red, she felt very jealous of Yi in her heart. This ordinary woman actually made Yi Juetian cry for her. Unhappy. Very unhappy. Gong Yu suddenly stretched out her slender hand and lightly caressed onto Yi Juetian's long hair, then said tenderly, "Sometimes, men also need a shoulder to comfort them, I can lend you to lean on." Yi Juetian said gravely, "No need." After finished speaking, he stood up and seemed to be going to look for medicine. Gong Yu thought that Yi Juetian would lean on her and complain bitterly, but she didn't expect that Yi Juetian wouldn't even do that. This is a bad situation. Gong Yu looked at the pile of medicine that Yi Juetian took out and asked, "Are you going to send the medicine over right now?" "Yes. Your big brother has just left." "I don't care about that much," Yi Juetian said coldly. "Right now, what he needs is medicine. If she doesn't have medicine, she definitely won't be able to survive tonight." Gong Yu said concernedly, "Even if you go, if your big brother were to find out, do you think that he would still be alive?" Yi Juetian's hands immediately stopped moving. "What Gong Yu said is right. The moment big brother left, I will go and save Yi. Let me go," Gong Yu said with a slight smile. "You are going?" Yi Juetian asked puzzledly. Gong Yu nodded her head. "I am just an outsider, others wouldn't gossip about me, and even if your big brother were to find out, at the very least, he wouldn't vent his anger on Yi, and would only punish me." Chapter 1089. After Yi Juetian heard this, he was a bit absent-minded. Why was this woman helping him like this? He didn't seem to like her at all. It would be a lie if I said that I wasn't moved. No one else had helped me, and only Gong Yu had stepped forward bravely. I, Yi Juetian, will remember this kindness for the rest of my life. Thank you. If it wasn't for you, I really wouldn't know what to do. Yi Juetian said sincerely, feeling extremely grateful. There's no need to thank me. If I can see the two of you finally get married, I'll also be very happy, even if I have to be a fake wife, Gong Yu said gently as she stretched out her hand. Yi Juetian didn't know what to say. He chose a bottle of healing panacea and gave it to Gong Yu. I'll have to trouble you. Do you have to be so polite to me? Be careful that I won't help you anymore, Gong Yu said mischievously. Without waiting for Yi Juetian to reply, Gong Yu disappeared from the room. Needless to say, this Gong Yu was also an expert at flirting. At the very least, after these few interactions, Yi Juetian had a very favorable impression of Gong Yu. However, right now, his heart was filled with Yi. The heavenly prison was naturally the place where Yi Juetian had been imprisoned last time. At this moment, Yi was also imprisoned there. The air was humid, and the sound of water dripping could be heard from time to time. This was probably the place with the worst environment in the entire Voidless Empire. Of course, they had also considered this when they were building this place. What was the point of having such a good environment for criminals to stay in? Could it be that they were going to make this place look like a 5-star hotel? Yi laid on the damp ground. Her dress was dyed red with fresh blood, and there were traces of blood at the corner of her mouth. Fortunately, she was still breathing. But this kind of breathing was already very weak, so weak that if there was no treatment, she would soon die. It was difficult for him to even last until night. After searching for a long time, Gong Yu finally found the so-called Imperial Prison. Outside the Imperial Prison, there were 2 black-armored warriors standing guard. The black-armored warriors would only listen to Yi Hua and Wei Chang's orders. They wouldn't listen to anyone else, even if it was Qing Ye and the others. Therefore, Gong Yu did not intend to enter the Imperial Prison through normal means. As an honorable, she had many ways to enter. Furthermore, these black-armored warriors were not at the level of an honorable being. Thus, Gong Yu's entry was rather smooth. The 2 black-armored warriors were frozen in place, not knowing that someone had entered. However, some palace maids were curious when they saw Gong Yu going to the Imperial Prison. Gong Yu was quite bold. Of course, she did this to create the image of a virtuous wife. Gong Yu frowned slightly as she walked out of the prison. The environment here was worse than she had imagined. It was not meant for humans to live in. Soon, Gong Yu found Yi's cage and discovered that Yi was lying on the ground, on the verge of death. As long as his medicine did not arrive, then Yi would definitely die within 4 hours. At this moment, Gong Yu was thinking whether she should send the medicine up. Actually, there were many excuses. While Gong Yu was deep in thought, Yi, who was lying on the ground, slowly opened her eyes. However, this pair of eyes did not have the liveliness they used to have. Instead, they carried a deathly aura. Yi looked at the woman in front of her. Of course, she knew who she was. She was Ye's fiancée and she was here to help Ye. The weak Yi squeezed out a smile. She wanted to say thank you, but she really couldn't say anything. She could only use this smile to thank her for everything. If Yi Juetian saw Yi's smile, he would definitely feel very uncomfortable. You're already injured to this extent, why are you still acting like this? Don't you think for yourself? Gong Yu looked at Yi's smile and felt that she was probably the only one who could be so naive. You're just an ordinary girl. Why can't you know what's good for you? Yi Juetian isn't your home. If you follow Yi Juetian, there will only be danger, no safety. Even if Big Brother doesn't make a move, I will make a move, do you understand? You idiot. You actually dare to smile at me. Not knowing why, looking at Yi revealing such a pure smile, Gong Yu felt a bit strange in her heart. She could only use some words to make herself hate this woman. Gong Yu could be seen directly passing through the iron bars just like that, then squatted in front of Yi and said gently, "It was Ju Tian who told me to come and save you." Gong Yu decided to maintain her own persona. Even if Yi died right now, she would still live in Ju Tian's heart forever. This was not the result that she wanted. When Yi heard this, the smile on her face became even bigger. I knew that Ye wouldn't abandon me. Ye must have been in a lot of pain just now, right? My heart really aches for Ye. Gong Yu took out the medicinal pill that Yi Juetian gave her. Immediately, a pleasant fragrance wafted out. Just by smelling it, one could tell that this medicinal pill wasn't ordinary. After all, this was used to treat Jizun's injuries. Gong Yu wouldn't harm Yi right now. If she wanted to harm Yi, she could just let Yi swallow the entire medicinal pill and Yi's body would explode in an instant. A medicinal pill that was used to treat Jizun's injuries, was that something that an ordinary person like Yi could endure? Therefore, Gong Yu only used her finger to rub a layer of the medicinal pill, then lightly smeared it on Yi's lips. Then, a green light shot out from her finger. Yi instantly felt much better. That pain disappeared, and her breathing became much smoother. After a short while, Yi had already returned to normal. After all, she was in Ji, and treating a person was something that was extremely easy for her. Even without the medicinal pill, Gong Yu would be able to treat Yi. Yi, who had recovered, said with a joyous look on her face, "Thank you for saving me." Gong Yu revealed a light smile, then said gently, "You don't have to thank me. If you want to thank someone, you should thank Ju Tian. It wasn't convenient for him to come, so he let me do it. And, I know that it wasn't convenient for him to come, but I still have to thank you." Yi said sweetly, and her eyes returned to their usual spirited look. Gong Yu laughed lightly, "Don't blame Ju Tian for what happened today, he had no choice." Thinking of what happened today, Yi felt very uncomfortable. "It's all my fault, I caused everyone to be unhappy. I'm really too stupid." "Yi, actually, you are very brave. I have never admired any girl before, but you are the first one I admire," Gong Yu said calmly. This sentence was not false, Gong Yu indeed admired Yi. An ordinary person had suffered over 60 hits before fainting. Even if Ju Tian was faking it, those hits were still on the body. Such persistence was unimaginable. "I just didn't want Ye to be sad. In the end, I really couldn't hold on anymore," Yi said softly, her heart filled with self-blame. After Gong Yu heard that, she asked herself, if I was an ordinary person, would I have sacrificed so much? The first thing that appeared in her mind was, I wouldn't. But very quickly, it changed to would. Yi, rest well. Ju Tian will have a way to save you outside, Gong Yu stood up and said seriously. Save you? That was impossible, unless Big Brother relented. Yi said concernedly, don't let Ye suffer too much. Yi, don't worry. No matter what, I am Zhu Tian's fiancé. I will take good care of him. Looking at Gong Yu gradually leaving, Yi had a perplexed look on her face. Chapter 1090. How is it? When Yi Juetian saw that Gong Yu had returned, he hurriedly rushed up and asked. He was so nervous that he even grabbed onto Gong Yu's hands. You're hurting me, Gong Yu said in a low voice. Her beautiful face was a little red. These words were really memorable. Yi Juetian hurriedly let go of her hands. I'm sorry, I didn't hurt you, right? It hurts, Gong Yu said pitifully. Then I'll help you rub it. No matter what, Gong Yu is helping me so much, so I definitely have to treat her better. Gong Yu slightly lowered her head and allowed Yi Juetian to rub her hands. Those hands of his are really warm. In her own world, Gong Yu was a famous figure, and some men would have to be respectful when they saw her. However, in front of Yi Juetian, she acted like a little girl. This wasn't Gong Yu acting like this, she truly liked Yi Juetian. From his attitude towards Yi, it could be seen that he is a man who is loyal and affectionate. Even if the other party is an ordinary person, he still risked his life to save her. Just this attitude alone is enough to make me, Gong Yu, like him. However, attitude is attitude, I definitely won't allow you to like other women. You, Yi Juetian, can only have me, Gong Yu, in this life. Other women are not worthy. How is Yi? Yi Juetian hurriedly asked. Don't worry, Yi is already fine now. Really? Yi Juetian was delighted, as if he had just won some big prize. Would I lie to you? Gong Yu pouted. Yi Juetian hurriedly took out a mirror and called Yi. Yi, who was in the prison, heard it, looked at Yi, who was in the mirror, and asked anxiously, Yi, are you all right? Even now, this foolish woman is still worried about me, you have to think for yourself. Yi, I'm sorry, I harmed you and made you suffer. Yi Juetian said with pain in his heart as he tightly held on to the mirror. Gong Yu, who was at the side, looked at the mirror and seemed to be thinking about something. Yi, just now, Gong Yu already healed me. Look, I am the same as before, I'm fine. Yi waved her arms and had a warm smile on her face, making Yi Juetian feel at ease. Yi, don't worry, I will definitely save you. Yi Juetian said resolutely. Yi seemed to have thought of something, and her expression became downcast. Yay, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Don't worry, I'll find a way to cure your mother. Really, I'll find a way. Trust me. Gong Yu, who stood at the side, sneered in her heart. You are just an ordinary person. What method do you have to cure Zhu Tian's mother? You are really indulging in fantasy. Yi Juetian nodded his head. Yi, of course I believe in you. Mother's illness will definitely be cured, don't worry. Next, the two of them continued chatting, both comforting each other. Gong Yu sat at the side and listened, feeling upset. But he didn't leave. He needed this kind of jealousy. Only then would he harden his heart. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yi Hua arrived at Lingdu Imperial Palace. He could only hope that Huang Feidy did not destroy the spiritual spring. Even though he did not have high hopes for it, he still did not have high hopes for it. He had allowed his sons to kill one another, and he had even forced one of them to die right in front of him. If it were him, he would definitely have destroyed the spirit spring. Yi Hua didn't waste his breath and directly arrived at the emperor's sleeping palace. However, as soon as he appeared, he heard a woman's moans. The emperor was in a good mood this early in the morning. Prince Yi, why are you so anxious? I am currently comforting my woman. Huang Feidi could clearly feel that this was an aura that he would never forget in his entire life. Yihua said faintly, then, Your Majesty, do your best to comfort your woman. I will be waiting for you. Fine. Huang Feidi said faintly. However, the anger in his heart grew even bigger, and the strength he exerted also became stronger, completely disregarding the feelings of the woman beneath him. Sounds of pain and happiness rang out in the entire sleeping palace. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the sounds disappeared, and Huang Feidi walked out while wearing an imperial robe. Meanwhile, the woman on the bed had already fainted. Her eyes were red, and a look of pain could be seen on her face. Prince Yi, do you want to go and have some fun? Huang Feidi stretched out his hand generously. To even let you do my woman, are you happy? Yihua said faintly, I have no interest in second-hand goods. Oh, is that so? I still have some unopened goods in my palace, how about Prince Yi go and choose from them? Yihua stretched out his hand and grabbed onto Huang Feidi's neck, then said coldly, Your Majesty, are you trying to infuriate me? Cough, Prince Yi, how about killing me? Yi Juetian didn't panic in the slightest, and there was even a smile on his face. Yihua said gravely, I want the spiritual spring. Spiritual spring? Huang Feidi said puzzledly. Immediately, he thought of Yihua's mother, then began laughing crazily. Yihua was very unhappy, bring me to get the spiritual spring. Alright, I will bring you to get the spiritual spring. Huang Feidi revealed out a strange smile and said. That smile of his contained a deep sense of ridicule. It was as if he was saying, Yihua. To think that you would have such a day. Huang Feidi brought Yihua to the source of the spiritual spring. The source of the spiritual spring was deep beneath the palace. A coiling dragon could be seen circling around the room, and at the center of the room, there seemed to be an altar. On the altar, there was a golden bowl. This was definitely an artifact that was used to contain the spiritual spring. However, Yihua discovered that the dragon head had disappeared. It had rolled to the side. Prince Yi, I'm sorry, there was actually a thief that destroyed the spiritual spring. Although Huang Feidi was saying that he was sorry, his face didn't have any intention of apologizing at all, and his face was still filled with ridicule. Yihua took a deep breath, seemingly trying to calm himself down. This damnable Huang Feidi. As expected, he destroyed the spiritual spring. I forgot that Prince Ye's mother needs the spiritual spring to save her life. I'm really sorry, that's right, it is I who was negligent, I will apologize to Prince Yi, ha ha ha. After finished speaking, Huang Feidi laughed loudly. He was feeling very good in his heart, especially when he saw Yihua's sullen look, he felt even better. I feel so good from my toes all the way to my head. If someone were to ask me what is the best time in my life, then it would definitely be right now. Prince Yi, why aren't you saying anything? How about you kill me instead? Huang Feidi kept his smile and said provocatively. Yihua remained silent. What, you don't dare to kill me? That's true, Prince Yi is a person that is revered by tens of thousands of people in Spiritual City. If you kill me, the Emperor, without a reason, everything that you have done would have been wasted. TSK, what a pity. Huang Feidi's current look was very cheap to the point that no one could understand it. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. My mood today is very bad, everything that I have done is not going according to plan. This is simply the darkest day of my life. And this idiot emperor, I really want to slap him to death, but I won't let him die so easily. Chapter 1091. Seems like Prince Ye's mother is out of medicine. Why didn't you pay attention to it? You have to pay more attention in the future. Huang Feidi said with a teasing tone. Hearing Huang Feidi's words, Yihua tightly wrinkled his brows. It's that woman that you arranged? Yihua asked coldly. Huang Feidi went into a daze. As expected, something happened. Although I don't know what happened, I am still very happy to be the scapegoat. Prince Yi even found out about this. I still didn't hide it well enough. Huang Feidi laughed out loud. The heavens are truly too good to me. I can't kill this Yihua, but killing his mother is also a good thing. As expected, that woman was arranged by this emperor. Thinking about all of this, everything seems to make sense. Using a woman to sow discord between me and my brother, and even destroying my mother's spiritual spring. What a smart opponent. I, the Supreme Overlord, have made an error of judgment. And that woman. Even I was fooled by his acting skills. Say that again. This woman was arranged by you? Yihua asked coldly. Huang Feidi was simply trying to be the scapegoat and was seeking death. That's right. I'm the one who arranged this. I'm going to ruin your family. Just like me. I will kill you. After finished speaking, Huang Feidi laughed maniacally, as if he had gone mad. Is this still the emperor of the gods' realm? Yihua breathed out a mouthful of smoke, then punched onto Huang Feidi's abdomen. Under this punch, Huang Feidi only took a step back, then looked towards Yihua, seemingly asking, why didn't you punch me to death? Come. Aren't you very powerful? If you kill the emperor, you won't be able to raise your head in this lifetime. Don't worry, I won't kill you right now. I will make you wish you were dead. You will know the effect of this punch. We will slowly settle this debt in the future. Wait for me to settle this matter. Wait for me to settle this matter, then you will know what despair is. After finished speaking, Yihua disappeared. The most important thing right now is to solve my mother's illness, everything else isn't important. However, there is still one more matter that I have to settle, and that is this woman. She is actually a spy sent by this emperor, and I didn't even notice her. This emperor sure is smart. He used an ordinary woman to confuse me, and he even caused estrangement between me and my own younger brother. This move of his is truly not bad, I fell for it. Looking at Yihua leaving, Huang Feidi felt very satisfied, and he even started whistling. Without the spiritual spring, let's see if that old fart of yours can still hold on. After returning to his chambers, Huang Feidi went back to his bed. He was in an extremely good mood and decided to have another round of fun. Your Majesty, I can't take it anymore. Feeling the emperor's action, the beautiful woman began begging for mercy. And Huang Feidi liked this kind of attitude. He didn't care about anything. But at this moment, he felt that something was wrong. Very painful. It was as if it was going to explode. Such a reaction scared Huang Feidi so much that he immediately pulled out his sword. Everything is normal again, however, at this moment, Yihua's words resounded in his mind. You can be a living eunuch for this prince. Otherwise, the news will spread that the emperor exploded on the dragon bed and died, leaving his name in the annals of history. Huang Feidi tightly clenched his fists. Yihua! Yihua! I will King kill you. This was what Huang Feidi was currently shouting in his heart. I don't care about my face, but Yihua must die. After returning to his own territory, Yihua didn't hurry to tell Yi Juetian about Yi's true identity. It wasn't that he didn't want to give Yi Juetian a blow, but rather, he wanted Yi Juetian to know that the good that this woman treated him so well was all a lie. All for the sake of destroying our family. I want Yi Juetian to properly experience how good this woman is, only then will he know how disgusting this woman is. Right now, Yihua had an even more important matter that he needed to understand. And that was Lai Gu and Dou Fusher's mission. It has already been a few days since Yihua left, and according to the coordinates that Yihua and Do Fusher provided, Yihua and Do Fusher should have already been found and brought back. Why aren't they back yet? Just what is going on? Lai Gu. Where are they? Are they still not found yet? Yihua immediately sent a voice transmission to Lai Gu. Lai Gu's tone seemed to be a bit off, and with a tone of wanting to die, he said, Your Honor, subordinate is really unable to invite them. Do Fusher and I both want to die, and this Qing Su, I don't know what I should say anymore. Don't talk nonsense, bring them back first. Yihua said gravely. Right now isn't the time to be messing around, there is an important matter that needs to be settled. Lai Gu said gloomily, Your Honor, it isn't that I, Lai Gu, am unwilling to bring them back, but this pervert is unwilling to bring them back. He wants to commit suicide at the slightest provocation. I am afraid that he will act recklessly. Commit suicide? What is going on? Yihua was very puzzled. This Qing Su will commit suicide. Could it be that Qing Su is researching something again, so he decided to kill me first? And then save me afterward. F***K. This pervert is getting more and more advanced. Your Honor, it is better for you to come over and take a look yourself. I really don't know what is going on. Yihua let out a deep sigh. Why is everything going wrong today? Can't they just let me have a good day? At the west of the north of Kangluo continent, there was a small village called the Rising Sun Village. The name of the village was a bit weird, but the villagers that lived here were all simple and honest villagers, and they seemed to be very amiable. The houses were all made from wood, and they were rather simple and crude. There were roughly 300 plus people in the entire village, and most of them were the elderly and children. Not far away from the small village, there was a temple, and inside the temple, there was a monk. This monk was different from the other monks. This monk's body was very big, and this kind of size was not the feeling of strength, but the feeling of meat. Instead, it was the feeling of flesh. This person was at least 1,000 pounds. That layer upon layer of suet, that fat head, big ears, and even his eyes were gone. Right now, the monk was holding onto a chicken drumstick with both of his hands and sending it into his mouth. A chicken was gone in just a few bites. This monk was just an appetizer. This is Qing Su. Lord Qing Su of the 7 deadly sins. Back then, he killed half of the overlords in anger. How awesome was he? How glorious was he? Yet, 10 years later, he actually became such a foodie. This is simply even more of a pig than a pig. This is unimaginable. Meanwhile, Lai Gu and Do Fusher stood at the side and looked at the scene, and their scalps went numb. Where is he? Yihua instantly appeared at the side. Lai Gu and Do Fusher shouted out respectfully, Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Yihua looked towards the bald monk who was currently eating a pig's head with big bites. Don't tell me that this fellow is Qing Su. Yihua muttered. Lai Gu wanted to cry, Your Honor, this foodie is Qing Su. Yihua held onto his forehead. My team is a team that is full of looks. Why is there such a cheater like you in my team, and you are even one of the 7 deadly sins? If I were to bring this fellow back, a pig would appear in one of the 7 deadly sins. Yihua was about to walk forward, but Lai Gu hurriedly said, Your Honor, Qing Su lost his memories. What? Lost his memories? Yihua said gravely. Yi Zizi lost her memories back then, and this fellow lost his memories as well. Chapter 1092. Lai Gu nodded his head and said with a sorrowful tone, Qing Su's memory loss is different from Yi Zizi's. Qing Su's memory loss is very thorough, and he doesn't even know how to use poison anymore. He has completely treated himself as an ordinary person. When we were going to capture him, he wanted to commit suicide. In the end, he found out that we seemed to be very afraid of him committing suicide, so he forced us to buy food for him, and if we didn't buy food, he wanted to commit suicide. In any case, he wanted to commit suicide at the slightest provocation, and I even wanted to commit suicide. Your Honor, please find someone else, I won't be able to accept this mission anymore. Lai Gu was about to cry. I have never seen someone so shameless before. When he first arrived, he was afraid that he would be poisoned to death. But in the end, he realized that he would be angered to death instead of being poisoned to death. After hearing that, Yi Hua's face turned black. Did I step on dog shit today? Why am I so unlucky? Even Qing Su was an idiot. Yi Hua walked in front of Qing Su with a straight face. Looking at that plump belly of Qing Su's, there are at least more than 10 layers of abs. Can that face still count as a face? Even Qing Su could wear Brett's clothes in the past, but now he had become like this. Was this the fall of humanity or the fall of the team? Qing Su looked at the handsome guy in front of him and suddenly let out a mischievous laugh. That fat and oily hand of his actually touched onto his bald head, and his bald head immediately started reflecting light. Yi Hua was dumbfounded. Do you know who I am? Yi Hua asked coldly. This Qing Su is definitely faking it, it is impossible for him to have such a foolish look. Qing Su grabbed another roast chicken and started to bite from its butt. Are you going to buy me food too? If you don't, I'll kill myself. Yi Hua, F*ck me. This fellow actually dared to threaten me to commit suicide, then I will send you to heaven right now. Seeing that His Honor was about to flip out, Lai Gu hurriedly hugged onto His Honor and said, His Honor, don't get agitated, this fellow has really lost his memory. Do Fusher, who was at the side, said, Your Honor, I have asked around in the village, Qing Su appeared 10 years ago, and they all saw how fat Qing Su became. Yi Hua was gasping for breath, and his breathing was a bit hurried. It was clear that he was angered quite badly by everything that happened today. Initially, he thought that after he found Qing Su, he could rely on his medical skills to save his mother. He never expected that he would become like this. He even threatened me just now. Your F*king nature hasn't changed at all. You even know how to threaten me. Not bad. It was getting worse. Benefactor, I would like to ask for some vegetarian food, is it possible? Qing Su clapped his hands together, then clasped his palms together towards Yi Hua with a pious look on his face. When Yi Hua saw Qing Su's actions, he immediately wanted to kill Qing Su. Are you fucking playing with me? Begging for alms. Main body transformation my ass. Your Honor, calm down. Although Lai Gu said so, in actuality, the thought of getting rid of Qing Su had appeared in his mind countless times. This person said that it was one of the 7 deadly sins, isn't this the same as losing face? Benefactor, why are you so angry? Let this little monk help you solve your problems. Qing Su calmly asked. But when matched with that big face of his, it was just too comical. Lai Gu. I'm going to fucking kill him. Your Honor, calm down. Just get used to it. However, Qing Su calmly said, Benefactor, lay down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha. Yi Hua, Lai Gu, floating world, this Qing Su had probably killed too many people in the past, so he wanted to be a monk and chant sutras in this life. Yi Hua's bones cracked, and he grabbed out with one of his hands. Qing Su's enormous emotions floated in the air. However, his emotions were very calm. Qing Su closed his eyes and placed his palms together. Jesus said, If I am inferior to hell, who will enter hell? Lai Gu's eyes rolled up, this is what God said. Floating world blushed with shame, then corrected Lai Gu, this is what Buddha said. Lai Gu slapped his head with the back of his hand, nonsense, do you think that I, big brother, don't know? I am merely testing you. Oh, is that so? Big brother is really smart. Of course. Yihua felt that he was going to explode. Why do I have such a stupid subordinate? This is so painful. Benefactor, if you want to kill this little monk will not resist. However, this little monk is still not full. Can benefactor help this little monk buy 10 roast chickens? Add more chili to the chicken, and don't roast them too well, if not they won't have the texture. Hearing that, Yihua was stupefied. Soon after, he held onto his forehead and laughed. Lai Gu and floating world retreated backwards. What is going on with his honor? This is so scary. Qing Su directly drove his honor crazy. Yihua laughed for a very long time, then waved his hand, and a few strange marks could be seen appearing on top of Qing Su's head. Back then, Yihua used moonlight candle to shine on Yizizi, and only then did he discover that Yizizi had been sealed. However, that moonlight candle was a one-time use item, and there was only one of it. However, although this move wasn't as useful as moonlight candle, it was still barely enough to see if this fellow had a screw loose or not. If not, why would he lose his memory, and even forget that he is a poison master? Even if you forget that you are a poison master, you still have to remember that you know how to concoct the antidote. My mother is still waiting for the antidote to save her life. This isn't a joking matter. Seeing that Yihua was staring at him like that, Qing Su's heart felt a bit numb. Benefactor, it has been a long time since I took a bath. I forgot to ask benefactor to think thrice before you act. After hearing that, the corner of Yihua's mouth twitched, and he immediately sealed Qing Su's mouth. Qing Su was startled. What a scary man. To actually seal my mouth, is he afraid that I will scream? Buddha above, disciple is going to lose my chastity today. Yihua looked at Qing Su's characteristics. There isn't any adverse reaction, and it seems to be very normal. There isn't any seal, there isn't anything at all. Could it be that I met with the same situation as Brett? Can I only wake up after being beaten to death? Should I give it a try? Right now, Qing Su looked at Yihua's gaze and swallowed his saliva. This handsome fellow's taste is really unique, to actually like me. As a disciple of Buddha, I should be happy to help others. Come. Humiliate me, handsome fellow. Luckily, Yihua wasn't able to hear it. If he knew, he would definitely try to beat Qing Su to death and see if he could come back to life. After all, back then, Brett was beaten to death, then he came back to life, and after that, he knew everything that happened. Perhaps, Qing Su is also like this. Your Honor, you can't do that. If you really beat him to death, then he will really die. Lai Gu still had to warn Yihua. What happened to Brett might be an accident, but what if Qing Su doesn't come back to life? Yihua thought to himself, if Qing Su really died, then who is going to treat my mother's illness? Furthermore, I will also lose a powerful subordinate. The gains do not make up for the losses. Back then, Brett was also beaten to death by someone else. Should I look for someone else to beat Qing Su to death? Yihua looked towards Dou Fusher. Dou Fusher's entire body was trembling. His honor's gaze is so unique. However, Qing Su swallowed his saliva once again. So there is another person who is going to join in. There are actually two handsome fellows who want to mess with me, my God. Buddha. Today, disciple is going to dirty your eyes, but disciple is not going to panic. Disciple will use all of my means to let the two benefactors obtain happiness from their souls. Chapter 1093. Yihua had no other choice. I am really tired today. Everything has become very complicated. This is the first time the heavens are going against me. Although Yihua was anxious to save his mother, he still maintained his rationality and did not impulsively kill Qing Su. Yihua helplessly let go of his emotions, then sighed lightly, walked to the side and smoked his cigarette silently. This caused Li Gu and Dou Fusher to not know what happened. This was the first time they saw his honor so depressed. For the invincible his honor to actually reveal such an expression, this is simply too rare. In the past, this was simply impossible. Seeing that he was put down, Qing Su let out a sigh of relief. Buddha above, disciple was nearly humiliated by 3 shameless maniacs today. Luckily, Buddha appeared and allowed disciple to escape from such a great calamity. After surviving a great calamity, there will definitely be good fortune waiting for me. I have truly sinned, if it is possible, I would still like to experience it. Brother, come over. Seeing that his honor was filled with worries, Li Gu walked forward and asked respectfully, Your Honor, why are you here today? Something happened recently, and I am very annoyed. Yihua breathed out a mouthful of smoke. Subordinate is willing to solve Your Honor's problems. Your Honor, just tell me who it is, Li Gu will go and kill him right now. There was nothing wrong with Li Gu's loyalty. As long as Yihua said a word, Li Gu would definitely be sent into the stew pot. Yihua sighed once again, then raised his head and looked at the sky at a 45 degrees angle. Li Gu followed his honor's gaze and looked at the sky. This angle, this posture, how pretentious. This matter is very troublesome. If this fellow doesn't wake up, my mother might be in danger. Yihua said gravely. Even Zhu Tian was helpless against this. In the entire good-looking team, other than Qing Su, Zhu Tian was the only one who was good-looking. Right now, Zhu Tian was at his wit's end and could only hope that Qing Su would wake up. Not only did he become fat, he also became bald, and not only did he become bald, he also became stupid. Seems like even the heavens are going to give me a difficult problem. You sure are arrogant. Do you believe that I won't poke a hole in your sky? Ah. Why is it like this all of a sudden? When subordinate left, wasn't he still fine? Li Gu's expression changed, and his gaze was filled with concern. Don't look at how carefree Li Gu is. When he is serious, he is still quite heartwarming. Qing Su didn't react at all when he heard this. His hands were clasped together, and his lips were moving. It was unknown whether he was chanting or secretly eating. It's a long story. See if there's any way to wake him up. Yihua said gravely. If this Qing Su isn't able to be taken care of in a short while, I can only think of other methods. Yes. Senior, hand it over to me, I will definitely wake this fellow up. Li Gu said fiercely, then looked towards Qing Su with slanted eyes. Qing Su, who was currently reciting scripture, secretly took a glance at Li Gu's expression and coincidentally saw Li Gu's expression. Frightened, Qing Su hurriedly closed his eyes. Damn you, you still haven't given up on that crazy idea. Buddha, it seems that I will still have to dirty your glasses. If I die on the way, you must take my soul in. If my soul is insulted by these villains, I will accept my fate. At worst, he would just die in happiness. Come on. I'm ready. You bunch of thugs, I will be in a lot of pain. After Yihua finished speaking, he disappeared. Meanwhile, Li Gu slowly walked in front of Qing Su and said gravely, right now, you have 2 choices. First choice, remember your previous identity. Second choice. Let me beat you up until you remember your previous identity. Benefactor, where it is possible to let people off, one should spare them. Why bother beating me up? Just directly beat me to death will do. Hearing Qing Su's indifferent tone, Li Gu and Dou Fusher were simply about to explode. This damned fatty. If it is possible, I really want to directly beat him to death. Threatening to commit suicide with just a glance. Benefactors, I am hungry. Li Gu, Dou Fusher, you are still thinking of eating. Go and eat shit. Do Fusher immediately scolded. You only know how to eat all day long. However, Ching Su closed his eyes and said, Benefactors, food is the most important thing for people. Who knows, I might remember the things that you two are talking about while eating. Hearing that, Lai Gu felt that what Ching Su said made sense. Little brother, go and buy them. Lai Gu said straightforwardly. Big brother, I have bought all of the chickens in this village. Are you stupid? Go and buy them from other places then. In any case, you must definitely buy them. Either you are stuffed to death, or you are going to remember the things that happened in the past. However, Ching Su said faintly, Benefactor, if you get angry, it will harm your body and mind, it will not be good for sexual intercourse. Lai Gu clenched his fist tightly. I really want to smash this pig head apart with a single punch. This damn pig is a scum. Why are you still not going? Yes. Do Fusher immediately went to buy chickens from other places. Ching Su said with a slight smile, Benefactor, I am already prepared to offer my body to you. If you don't mind that it is dirty, then go ahead and do it. Changing the world. This is a big pervert. How can there be such a pervert like Ching Su in this world? Lai Gu felt like vomiting. Why don't you take a look at your face? Are you still a human? On the other side, Yihua returned to Wushu Empire. For the time being, he didn't go and look for Yi Juetian, and he also didn't go and look for Yi. Yihua sat in the palace's backyard and thought about what to do in the future. The main point is still my mother's illness. This is something that cannot be delayed. I have to think of a solution as soon as possible. However, what can I do right now? This is an unknown cause of illness. Unknown cause. Yihua immediately called Xian Yuqing over. Suddenly, he recalled something, mother's illness. Was it natural, or was it man-made? This is an important matter. If it is man-made, then there is definitely someone who poisoned her. Could it be that Huang Feidi? If not for that, back then, Huang Feidi would have thought that I had already died, and I wouldn't have any excuse to frame my mother. Huang Feidi's suspicion is not zero, but it is very small. Yishan. This biological father. The possibility is not high. Back then, this father still doted on his mother a lot. It is just that, in the merciless years, all that doting on his mother was used up. This made me think of a saying, a filial son who has been lying on a sickbed for a long time. Then, who could it be? Yihua, where did you go just now? Not only Qian Yuqing came over, Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji came over too. The two of them were accompanying their mother-in-law just now, and when they heard that Yihua came back, they hurriedly came over. Yihua said gravely, this damned emperor. He has already destroyed the spiritual spring. Ah! The three women cried out in surprise. The spiritual spring is gone. This caused the three daughters-in-law's expression to change greatly, and they panicked. Is there any other way then? Qingye asked anxiously. In actuality, mother-in-law is very open-minded, but as juniors, we can only try our best to save the spiritual spring, regardless of the cost. End of this chapter. Chapter 1094. Yihua said gravely, I was hoping for another subordinate of mine, but in the end, this subordinate of mine doesn't remember anything. He couldn't remember anything and had completely become an ordinary person. Right now, Lai Gu and Do Fusher are looking at him. Yihua, is this subordinate very powerful? Dong Huang Baiji asked curiously. Of course, she knew that Yihua still had two subordinates who were wandering outside. Yihua said gravely, this subordinate is quite knowledgeable in medical treatment, and I reckon that only he is able to cure this illness, but right now, sigh. Yihua let out a long sigh again, then took out a stick of cigarette and lit it. Right now, I really don't have any clue at all. The three women remained silent. They really wanted to help, but they didn't know how to help. Especially Qingye and Dong Huangbaiji, they had been Yihua's wives for so long, but they didn't seem to be able to help at all. He made her look like a vase. She wasn't a vase, she was also a woman who could fight. Yuqing. Yihua said slowly. Qian Yuqing hurriedly replied, Yihua, what is it? Do you need me to do something? Try to recall, when mother had this illness, did anything else happen? For example, strangers coming to Yi family. Yihua asked gravely. If I know that this illness is caused by someone, I will definitely kill that person 100 times. I will grind that person's corpse in a meat grinder 10,000 times. Qian Yuqing said lightly, Yihua, back then, I thought so too, but, during that period of time, mother locked herself in her room, and no one got close to her. Until one day, mother fainted, and then, she became like this. Yihua nodded his head. Lovesickness turning into illness, this is the saying of this illness. But why don't I believe it? It's not that I don't believe that mother doesn't miss me. It's that I don't believe that missing someone can be infected with this kind of incurable illness that even I am helpless against. This is definitely what I believe. I can guarantee right now. This is definitely caused by someone. However, I asked mother before, and mother didn't know anything about it. Right now, even Qian Yuqing said the same thing. Seems like someone is secretly doing this. Just who is so cruel to make my mother like this, to have to rely on spiritual spring water to survive? Don't let me find you, otherwise, I will let you experience the despair of this world, despair that you can't even imagine. Right, when I went to look for Huang Feidi today, I discovered something interesting. Yihua said faintly. After that, he waved his hand. Qingye and the others looked on with puzzlement. A scene appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Yihua asked Huang Fei and Di if they were sent by you. Huang Feidi had a crazed look on his face as he said, That's right. I'm the one who arranged this. I'm going to ruin your family. Just like me. I'll kill you. Hearing Huang Feidi admit to it, Qingye, Dong Huangbaiji, and Qian Yuqing couldn't help but cover their mouths. Yi was actually a spy sent by Huang Feidi. Qian Yuqing's expression was the worst. That day, Yihua had even asked me to go and probe Yihua, and in the end, I didn't manage to find out anything at all. In the end, I didn't expect that. Yihua was really a spy. Since that's the case, everything can be explained clearly now. Persecuting Yihua's mother, and also creating estrangement between Yihua and Yi Juetian, this emperor is indeed vicious. Yihua, I am sorry. It's all my fault. Qian Yuqing quickly admitted her mistake. Yihua shook his head, Yuqing, this isn't your fault. Even I, the Supreme Overlord, have misjudged this Yi. Qingye and Dong Huangbaiji still didn't dare to believe that Yi was actually a spy. The matter that happened in the morning was still vivid in their minds. Could it be that Yi's expression was able to act out like that? If it was really possible, then this Yi's acting skills are simply off the charts. If it wasn't for Huang Feidi admitting to it himself, no one would have known about it. In actuality, Huang Feidi was still very smart. From the moment Yihua came to ask for the spiritual spring, he knew that something had happened. However, he didn't ask what it was. When Yihua said that it was a woman, Huang Feidi magnanimously took the blame. However, what he was thinking in his heart was that this woman wasn't sent by me at all. Since that's the case, there is a possibility that this woman is innocent. However, as long as I admit to it, even if she is innocent, I will still become a sinner. At that time, Prince Yi, you killed an innocent person. Will you feel heartache? For Huang Feidi to be able to become the emperor, his brain was very quick, and in an instant, he framed Yihua again. And right now, Yihua didn't notice anything at all. In fact, he even felt that Yi was sent by Huang Feidi. Surprised, Yihua said coldly. Dong Huang Baiji wrinkled her brows and said, Yihua, can Huang Feidi's words be trusted? Humph. He already admitted to it. What else is there to say? Yihua shouted out gravely. In his heart, he already thought that Yi was a spy. He was already in a bad mood to begin with, and right now, he was even more so. Qinya also persuaded lightly, Yihua, this matter isn't that simple, don't let anger get to your head. What do you women know? Yihua slammed onto the table and disappeared from the stool. These women actually doubted my intelligence. Even the emperor admitted to it. Could it be that it's fake? Even if it's fake, I still need to bear all the responsibility. Although Yihua thought like this, he didn't rush to deal with Yi. This woman's schemes are rather deep, I still have to deal with Xiaotian. However, Yihua still wanted to go and take a look at this woman. Take a look at how this woman is able to lie in front of me. I want to see for myself of this woman with explosive acting skills. Yihua arrived at the imperial prison, and the sound of his heavy footsteps caused Yi, who was in the iron cage, to go into a daze. A figure could be seen appearing from within the darkness, and joy could be seen on Yi's beautiful face as she tightly held on to the ice-cold iron rod. Yay! Yi couldn't help but shout out happily. Just by looking at the figure, one could tell that it was Ye. However, when Yihua walked out from the darkness, Yi's expression froze, and she couldn't help but take a step back. This isn't Ye, this is Ye's big brother. Emperor Yihua. Yihua looked at the change in Yi's expression and sneered in his heart. Now, you know fear. Are you afraid that I will find out your secret? Is that why you are revealing such an expression? My injuries heal very quickly. Yihua stood in front of the iron cage and asked faintly. His eyes were fixated onto Yi, and Yi didn't dare to look straight at Yihua at all. In Yi's heart, she felt that although Yihua and Yi Juetian looked exactly the same, their personalities were worlds apart. Ye was much better, as for Emperor Yihua, Yi didn't like him at all. Seeing that Yi wasn't speaking, Yihua sneered, not speaking, it must be Yi Juetian who sent you the medicine, right? Your Majesty, it wasn't Ye who sent the medicine, it was. Yi was just about to say that it was Gongyu, but in the end, she still shut her mouth. Who? Yihua asked faintly. Could it be that this Yi is related to the person who poisoned me? There is this possibility. I have been busy for the entire day, and my head is hurting badly. I am sorry, brothers. I will try my best to make up for it tomorrow. End of this chapter. Chapter 1095. Right now, Yihua was able to link everything together. His mother's critical illness made Yihua unable to concentrate on thinking about the problem, and as long as there is even the slightest clue, he would become suspicious. Yi lowered her head and shook it, Your Majesty, I can't say who. Gongyu had saved my life, how can I possibly tell anyone about Gongyu? If I were to tell anyone about Gongyu, I will definitely be beaten up by Emperor Yihua. Gongyu is so good, I definitely cannot tell anyone about her. Yihua slowly walked forward, and Yi couldn't help but retreat. The black iron bars were completely unable to block Yihua's body, and Yihua directly passed through them. This point was extremely similar to Gongyu. Why can't I tell you? Yihua closed in on Yi step by step, while Yi continuously retreated. The immense pressure from Yihua made Yi feel very uncomfortable until she had no more room to retreat. Yihua stood right in front of Yi and looked down at the spy. How could his acting be so good? If not for Huang Fei admitting to it, I, the Supreme Overlord, would have been deceived by you. That lovely and pitiful look in your eyes, that look of having no resistance towards the supreme power, You are a Mothers * King drama queen. Yi Hua held onto Yi's chin and raised Yi's head up. Speak. Who gave you the medicine? Yi Hua questioned coldly. Yi's gaze slowly turned resolute, and she said in a low voice, I won't say it. Yi Hua took a deep breath. Do you know? Those who resist me will never have a good ending. You will die. Even if I die, I won't say it. Yi's tone was filled with stubbornness, and there was also a trace of anger. Anger. For a girl as obedient as Yi, it was very rare for her to show such negative modesty. Even if she did, she would only act like a spoiled child in front of Yi Juetian. However, Yi was actually angry at Yi Hua. My God! What kind of courage does it take? Right now, Yi Hua was about to explode from anger. Then go and die for me. Yi Hua directly grabbed Yi's neck from her chin. Yi's feet gradually left the ground, and with both of her hands grabbing onto Yi Hua's wrist, Yi's face became bright red, and her legs began to struggle. Yi Hua really wanted to strangle this ant in front of him to death. You caused your own mother to run out of medicine. After that, you went to find Qing Su and turned into a damn fatty. Because of you, your relationship with Zhu Tian has also become subtle. You really are a very good spy. Although you can't cause me to suffer physical harm, you can still cause me to suffer mental harm. In this world, this was the only way to injure the deity. Huang Fei, you're pretty * King smart. Yi found it very difficult to breathe. Her brain became a little dizzy because of the lack of oxygen. Was she going to die soon? However, he couldn't bear to. He hadn't seen Ye's face yet. If only he could see Ye again. Suddenly, Yi felt her neck loosen, and her body fell to the ground. Fresh and humid air entered her body, and her mind immediately became much clearer. But what followed was a violent cough. Cough, cough, cough. Yi Hua stood in front of Yi. This woman won't let me die so easily. I am very curious, why does little Tian like you so much? Yi Hua slowly squatted down and looked at Yi's face. Disregarding everything else, this face was indeed extremely beautiful. There were very few women that could make Yi Hua say that they were beautiful, and Yi was one of them. From this, it could be seen that Yi was able to enter Yi Hua's eyes. Yi sat on the ground and gasped for breath. Her scattered hair caused Yi to look a little down and out, but it didn't affect her beauty in the slightest. No matter how a beautiful woman dresses up, an ugly woman would still be unable to conceal her inferiority complex. Yi Hua continued, if little Tian knew that the woman he likes actually doesn't like him, and everything is fake, what would happen? No, I like Ye, I won't allow you to spout nonsense. Speaking of this question, Yi became more domineering. This might be a stubbornness. It's fine to humiliate myself, but I can't humiliate my feelings. There were quite a number of people who scolded Yi Hua, and the ending of those scolded Yi Hua wasn't good. However, Yi was different. She clearly knew that Yi Hua was able to pinch her to death with a single hand, but she still said such disrespectful words. Don't you find it funny? Do you think that you can marry little Tian? Yi Hua asked coldly. Yi's expression became incomparably firm as she said, I like Ye, what's wrong with me marrying Ye? Because I don't agree to it. Yi Hua shouted out gravely. You want to marry me just because you said so? Do you think that it's that easy to enter my Yi family? Yi glared at Yi Hua angrily. She wasn't afraid at all, because this matter involved Ye. Yi Juetian seemed to be able to give Yi a lot of courage, and that courage allowed Yi to not be afraid of anything, not even afraid of this tyrant in front of her. You will agree to it. Yi said with certainty. Yihua smiled, then shook his head and said, "You are very arrogant, and don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. In a few days, your Ye will marry another woman and you can only live here." Yi bit her lips tightly and didn't say anything. Because Ye will only marry Gong Yu, but knowing that Ye's marriage is fake, Yi still didn't feel good in her heart. You can only live in this dark and gloomy prison, while he is enjoying a high position and wealth outside. Perhaps it is hard to part with him right now, but after a long time, who will still remember you? After Yihua finished speaking, his body gradually disappeared. Yi sat on the ground blankly. Just now, he said that after a long time, Ye will forget about my existence. Fake, it's definitely fake. Ye won't forget about me. Yi took out a mirror, hoping that Ye will be able to look for me right now. However, after waiting for a long time, Ye still didn't come. Leaning against the damp wall, Yi appeared to be a bit lonely. She hugged onto her legs tightly and curled up together, because that way, she might be able to feel a bit warmer. The sound of water dripping in the prison seemed to be so unique, seemingly telling Yi that in this lifetime, I will only be able to hear this sound of water dripping, lonely and heavy. After leaving the prison, Yihua arrived at Lu Jing's bedroom. "You came, quickly sit and taste the tea that mother brewed." Lu Jing could be seen practicing the way of tea. Originally, Daji was teaching Lu Jing by the side, but right now, Daji was punished to face the wall and ponder over her mistakes. After Lu Jing finished brewing a cup of green lotus tea, Lu Jing smiled lightly. Yihua smiled lightly, then picked up the cup of green lotus tea and slowly closed his eyes to smell the tea. The fragrance of green lotus tea had the effect of clearing one's mind. Although it didn't have much of an effect on Yihua, it was still a pretty good fragrance. Yihua lightly took a sip of the green lotus tea, and the fragrance of the green lotus tea pervaded the mouth. His entire mouth was filled with a pleasant fragrance, and his taste buds were satisfied. "Are you feeling better now?" Lu Jing also took a sip of the green lotus tea and asked lightly. Lu Jing knew that her son had been extremely worried about her matter. "Mother, aren't you angry in your heart?" Yihua asked calmly. Why is it that when mother encounters this kind of matter, she actually doesn't have any bit of anger? End of this chapter. Chapter 1096. The corner of Lu Jing's mouth curved up. "Yihua, what's there to be angry about? Mother knows about mother's illness. These medicines will be used up sooner or later. Right now, it's just that it's brought forward. Actually, being able to see you again, mother's heart is already satisfied. Even if I die, I can die in peace." I won't let you die," Yihua said resolutely, and his gaze was filled with resolution. Lu Jing lightly held onto her son's hand. "Yihua, mother knows that you are in a bad mood, but Qingye and the others are concerned about you. You cannot vent your anger on the people who love you, this will make Qingye and the others feel uncomfortable. As a man, you must learn to be magnanimous, there is no need to lower yourself to the level of a girl." While speaking, Lu Jing herself started laughing. Perhaps Yihua was amused by his mother. Yihua laughed out. "Mother, I understand. Yihua, you are much more sensible than before. Mother is very reassured, the only thing that I am worried about is your younger brother." Lu Jing took a deep breath, then exhaled. "Mother, don't worry. When the time comes, I will arrange little Tian's marriage, and I will continue to think of ways to cure your illness." Patting on the back of her son's hand, Lu Jing said gently, "Yihua, just live happily." Yihua nodded his head for the time being, then said, "Mother, I will accompany you out for a walk, the sun is pretty good today." It's good to go out for a walk." Lu Jing stood up, and Yihua supported her by the side. The mother and son walked out of the bedroom. In the real northern Liang, only Wushu Empire's sky had a sun, and the other places were covered with snow and ice. After accompanying his mother, Yihua took out a drop of spiritual spring water and placed it inside a container, thinking about what kind of method he should use to get the spiritual spring water. Since Qing Su could not do it, they could only call Zhu Tian back. Although Zhu Tian's medical skills were inferior to Qing Su's, they could only give it a try. As long as there was a chance, they could not give up. Zhu Tian was currently traveling outside, and when he received Yihua's command, he hurriedly returned. He thought to himself that the holidays should be over. Zhu Tian, since there is no way to cure it, let's take a look at this spirit spring and see if there is anything else that can replace it. Yihua said faintly. There was no other way. They could only delay it until Qing Su woke up. Yes. Your Honor, but this subordinate cannot guarantee 100% of it. Zhu Tian did not have the confidence to do so. The main reason was that the illness was already very difficult to treat. A medicine that could delay the illness would definitely not be an ordinary item. Hence, Zhu Tian did not dare to guarantee anything. After all, in the team, giving a guarantee was equivalent to giving a military order, and if it couldn't be achieved, then they would have to. Yihua also knew the difficulty of this matter and nodded his head. When Yihua saw that Zhu Tian had left to do something, a bit of hope ignited in Yihua's heart. Right now, he should also go and see Yi Juetian. That idiot, he was actually infatuated by a woman to the point of his soul being smitten. He was confused by a spy in the northeast. When he arrived at Yi Juetian's sleeping quarters, just as he walked in, he heard the palace maids shouting, "Long live the emperor!" Yihua waved his hand and walked towards the main entrance. However, just as he reached the top of the stairs, Yi Juetian and Gong Yu appeared. Big brother. Yi Juetian stood at the front and greeted respectfully. Gong Yu, who was standing behind Yi Juetian, also shouted, "Big brother." He could accept Gong Yu calling him big brother. After all, the two of them were about to get married. Yihua nodded his head and walked into the house. Yi Juetian glanced at Gong Yu, and the latter signaled him not to be nervous, that everything would be fine. Right now, Yi Juetian was a bit afraid of Yihua. I'm afraid that Big Brother might kill the woman that I like due to his unstable emotions. If that's the case, the relationship between me and Big Brother, Gong Yu obediently poured a glass of water from the side. Big Brother, drink some water. Yihua took the water and took a sip. Soon after, he placed the water beside his hand and said, I just went to meet Huang Feidi. Is there still spirit spring water over there? Yi Juetian hurriedly asked. After hearing that, Yihua laughed lightly. Xiao Tian, you still know how to care about your mother. Yi Juetian lowered his head in silence. The spirit spring is gone. Hearing his big brother's words, Yi Juetian's face became a bit pale. No spiritual spring, that means, little Tian. Yihua called out lightly. Towards this younger brother of his, Yihua's heart was broken. What about Gong Yu? What a face. They had to have a good figure, big breasts and perky buttocks, be obedient, and be strong. She had good qualities in all aspects and was proficient in the 4 arts. What was wrong with such a woman? Why did he have to fall in love with a spy? Are you trying to piss me off on the road? If my 2 sons are like this in the future, I will hang them up and give them a good beating. Big brother, what's the matter? Yi Juetian raised his head and asked. Yihua directly waved his hand, and the conversation he had with Huang Feidi appeared. Yi Juetian and Gong Yu saw and heard the conversation. The two of them were very astonished. Gong Yu was astonished because this Yi was actually sent by someone else. Yi Juetian was astonished because this Yi was actually sent by Huang Feidi. This is completely impossible. Impossible, this is definitely impossible. Yi isn't that kind of person. Yihua silently took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. This Huang Feidy is very smart, even I have misjudged him. Only an ordinary person would be able to reach such a realm, and no one would be able to discover him. This is what is so brilliant about him. Yihua said gravely. Using an ordinary person as a spy, this idea is quite feasible. Yi Juetian wasn't willing to believe it. How could he be a spy? He is so innocent and kind, could it be that a spy is like this? Yihua extinguished the cigarette, then said, Xiao Tian, lying is just the beginning. Look at everything that happened today. Look at everything that happened today, you will discover that this Yi isn't simple. After finished speaking, Yihua disappeared. Yihua couldn't force Yi Juetian to make a choice, Yi Juetian would have to rely on himself. Of course, there is also that Gong Yu, whether or not you can obtain Ju Tian will depend on your own capabilities. After Yihua left, Yi Juetian sat on the jadewood chair in a daze. His mind was filled with Huang Feidy's words and everything about Yi. Could it be that everything that Yi did was fake? This is impossible, how can that kind of feeling be fake? However, even Huang Feidy himself admitted it. Gong Yu, are you saying that Yi is a spy? Yi Juetian muttered. Gong Yu naturally wouldn't directly say that Yi was a spy, and she said lightly, Juetian, this matter still needs to be investigated first. However, I believe that Yi is being wrongly accused. That's right. Yi is being wrongly accused, I want to go and clarify things with Yi face to face. You can't go right now, use a mirror. Gong Yu reminded. In actuality, Yi Juetian wanted to see Yi more. Yi, who was in the imperial prison, quickly received the news. After seeing Yi again, Yi's mood became much better. As expected, Emperor Yihua was a liar, how could Yi possibly forget about me? Yi Juetian shouted out. Yi, what is it? Yi had a smile on her face, and it was the kind of smile that was used to comfort people, telling Yi Juetian not to worry about her. End of this chapter. Chapter 1097. This sort of one-sided sacrifice was actually quite tiring. Yi had sacrificed a lot, and even when she was bullied, she did not dare to tell Yi Juetian. She also did not dare to tell Yi Juetian about the bitterness in her heart, as she was afraid that Yi Juetian would be annoyed by her. Yi Juetian wanted to question him, but he couldn't bring himself to do so. Because once he asked, the relationship would change. He should believe in Yi and not have any doubts. But would Big Brother lie to her? It was obvious that he wouldn't use such a thing to lie to him. Yi, why aren't you saying anything? Yi looked at Yi Juetian's expression and felt a bit nervous, afraid that she would hear bad news. Yi Juetian squeezed out a smile, it's nothing much, I just wanted to take a look. The main thing is that I missed you too much. Hearing this, Yi blushed. You're so annoying. You only know how to say such sweet nothings. Does Yi like it? Yi nodded shyly, but warned, but don't tell anyone else. Yes, only for my Yi to hear. Yi Juetian chose to believe in Yi. Yi was not a spy, and spies would not look like this. It seemed like Yi Juetian was judging spies based on their looks. How awesome. Gong Yu didn't feel good, but she didn't say anything. At this time, Yihua returned to his bedroom and thought to himself, what mother said is right, I mustn't vent my temper on my wife, this will only make the person who loves me sad. In the morning, he even roared at Qinya. At that time, he was truly angered to the point of bursting. Just a while ago, I even roared at everyone, and I am about to explode from anger. Today is a day of anger, and I have to record it down. When Yihua returned to his bedroom, he didn't see his 3 wives. I reckon that the 3 wives are angry and are hiding from me. Forget it, forget it. Since I'm in a bad mood, I'll settle it with cigarettes and alcohol. Men were so simple. Lonely smoke accompanied them, lonely wine accompanied them. Of course, drinking couldn't trigger it, or else it would lose its value. After preparing a pile of peanuts, Yihua sat in the red pavilion outside while silently drinking wine and peeling peanuts. But his brain was thinking about other things. However, as he drank one glass after another, his mind became muddled. This was the feeling he wanted, the feeling of dizziness. At this moment, Qingye, Donghuang Baizhi, and Qian Yuqing walked over while carrying the dishes. When they saw that Yihua was actually sitting on the table and drinking wine, they were slightly startled. He was actually drinking wine in broad daylight. It was really amazing. The three wives walked towards Yihua and placed the dishes on the stone table. The three wives discovered that the smell of alcohol on Yihua's body was very strong. Looking at the jar of wine that was at the side, Yihua actually drank all of it. Yihua, are you all right? Qingye asked with concern. While Yihua was still in a daze, he heard someone calling him, and a very nice-smelling woman's fragrance also entered his nose. Immediately, he felt restless. He raised his head and said, "What a beautiful woman." Hearing Yihua actually praising me, Qingye was a bit stupefied. This man actually praised me for being beautiful. Sure enough, he only boasted when he was drunk. Other than that, he didn't know how to talk at all. In a daze, Yihua looked towards Donghuang Baizhi and revealed out a strange smile. Stretching out his hand, he lifted Donghuang Baizhi's chin and said, "Beauty, what is your name?" Donghuang Baizhi's head is aching. He actually doesn't recognize me anymore. Just how drunk is he? Yihua then looked towards Qian Yuqing, and the latter immediately shrunk back and revealed a look of fear. He was a man, after all. He loved to see this timid little bunny. It was especially refreshing to bully her. "Beauty, do you want a lighter?" Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi immediately became speechless. "Yuqing is your wife. If you want to sleep with me, then go ahead and sleep with me." However, Qian Yuqing didn't understand the meaning of Yihua's words. Since Yihua asked, I will just nod my head. Yihua liked this kind of beauty. He immediately carried Qian Yuqing into his embrace and kissed her. This caused Qian Yuqing to panic. Just what is Yihua doing? His hand is already inside. This is outside. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi rolled their eyes. Just what is this? Is he doing this to another woman in front of his wife? Where are we going to put our faces? Can we even have a proper conversation? Don't do it here, go inside the house and do it. Qingye didn't even want to look anymore. Look at this Yuqing, she is already feeling something from Yihua and is even cooperating with him. Yihua seemed to have understood Qingye's words, and he immediately disappeared from the spot while carrying Qian Yuqing. Sigh, yet another innocent girl turned into a woman. Qingye sighed. Meanwhile, Donghuang Baizhi said, "How long do you think Yuqing can last for?" "That will have to depend on how well Yihua performs. Back then, didn't we suffer very miserably?" Qingye giggled. Thinking back to the second floor of that small bar, it was filled with memories. Right now, it feels like I am on vacation, and the place I stayed in was a fast food hotel. I feel that I have to go back to that small bar in the future. That small bar is where my warm home is. Although that small bar is not big, it is very warm. Donghuang Baizhi pouted her mouth. I will never forget that lousy bar in my entire life. That's right, we lost our virginity in that lousy bar. Qingye laughed, and soon after, the two beauties laughed. That lousy bar is pretty good. I suddenly miss my children a bit, especially Ollie. I wonder if she is still messing around. Yihua was indeed enjoying Qian Yuqing's body, not letting go of any inch of her skin. A layer of bright red appeared on Qian Yuqing's skin, and a faint fragrance was even emitting out from Qian Yuqing's body. Yi Hua was very greedy. Along with a moan, Qian Yuqing finally became Yi Hua's woman as she wished. Tears of joy even flowed out from her eyes. However, in the following period of time, the tears were no longer tears of joy, instead, they were tears of pain. This Yi Hua is not a human, save me. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi sat down and played cards. Donghuang Baizhi said lightly, "Seems like we overestimated Yuqing, to think that she would cry for help so quickly." "That's right, I thought that she would be able to hold on for another half an hour." Qingye pouted. "I definitely won't go and save someone. This is the first lesson that I have to learn, and everyone has already experienced it before. Therefore, I still have to endure it myself. Furthermore, this is just the beginning, Yi Hua is still just the appetizer." Qingye immediately added a soundproof barrier to the bedroom to prevent Yuqing's scream from being heard by others. If that were to happen, it would be very awkward. "What did you play just now?" "God explode." "Oh, 119. Qingye threw out 3 cards. Donghuang Baizhi laughed, then directly threw out 3 cards, 333. Qingye was very puzzled. What kind of new trick is this? "This is Blazing Mountain." Qingye went into a daze for a moment, then shouted out, 6666. From the looks of it, the 2 women's card skills were also inherited by Yi Hua. Furthermore, Yuqing's scream for help never stopped. Sometimes, Yuqing would appear to be on the verge of death, but then, she would immediately return to normal. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi had deeply experienced this kind of feeling. Back then, they were played by Yi Hua for an entire night, and that kind of feeling felt as if their souls were about to explode. Inside Yi Juetian's bedroom. End of this chapter. Chapter 1098. "Juetian, it's about time, you're going to get drunk." Gong Yu reminded him softly, but her hands didn't stop pouring wine into his mouth. Yi Juetian was very depressed today, so depressed that he wanted to drink to numb himself. Because he didn't know who to believe. On one side was his own big brother, on the other was his most beloved woman. They were both important people in his life. Why did he have to choose? Could it be that they couldn't be together properly? Thinking about this, Yi Juetian felt annoyed. He raised his head and drank, and he didn't even urge it. After all, he wouldn't feel drunk if he did. How could he drink? "Gong Yu, who do you think I should believe?" Yi Juetian placed his hand on Gong Yu's shoulder and asked drunkenly. Gong Yu's heart tightened, and she said softly, "Juetian, do you believe me?" "Of course I do. If you don't believe me, who do you believe?" Yi Juetian said drunkenly. Gong Yu gently held Yi Juetian's hand and said softly, "Juetian, if it was me, I would believe in family because family wouldn't harm you." Hearing that, Yi Juetian was startled, and then he revealed a drunken smile. "That's right, family wouldn't lie to me. Could it be that Yi is lying to me?" "Juetian, Yi might not be lying to you either." Gong Yu slowly got closer to Yi Juetian and lightly leaned on his shoulder, and then continued to pour wine for him. Yi Juetian was also very confused, and he smiled. "Then who is it? Is the heavens lying to me?" "Juetian, you're drunk." Gong Yu said softly. "No." "Then look at who I am." Gong Yu raised her head and looked at Yi Juetian. At the same time, Yi Juetian also lowered his head and looked at Gong Yu. Men and women had a natural attraction, especially when they were drunk. Let alone a goddess like Gong Yu. In Gong Yu's world, everyone wanted to kneel and lick her toes. Yi Juetian looked at the face in front of him, and felt that it was so beautiful. That pair of big eyes, that pretty nose, that slightly red cheeks, especially those 2 red lips, it felt like he could taste them. Once this thought appeared, Yi Juetian's brain was controlled by alcohol, and he immediately kissed her. Gong Yu was stunned. She didn't expect that before she even started seducing him, Yi Juetian couldn't take it anymore. It was her first time being like this with a man, so she was a little unfamiliar with it. Although it wasn't Yi Juetian's first time, it was still his second time. However, Gong Yu would not let go of such an opportunity. She wrapped her lotus-like arms around Yi Juetian's neck, making it easier for Yi Juetian to touch her body. That's right, Yi Juetian was caressing Gong Yu's body in a sweeping manner. Originally, his hands were only placed on Gong Yu's back, but unknowingly, they were placed on her well-developed buttocks. Although they were separated by her clothes, he could still feel that elasticity. As expected of a powerful woman, she was flexible. However, this kind of caressing was not enough to satisfy the drunk Yi Juetian. He started to lift up Gong Yu's dress and touch her snow-white jade legs. That delicate skin, the rich texture, it was really enchanting. As for Gong Yu, after being stroked by Yi Juetian like this, she started to feel something. She sat on Yi Juetian's legs. Yi Juetian was originally kissing her fragrant lips, but he had unknowingly kissed her jade-like neck. The neck was the most sensitive part of a girl, and Gong Yu had never experienced such a feeling before. She instantly let out a happy moan. The palace maid outside immediately heard it, and her face became slightly red. Something good happened today. The warm-up inside continued, and Yi Juetian's hands had already reached into Gong Yu's clothes, while Gong Yu raised her head, enjoying this passionate moment. Juetian, I want, Gong Yu sweetly shouted. This was simply no less than an atomic bomb exploding, and it instantly exploded in Yi Juetian's brain. Mixed with the alcohol, it created a substance called super hormone, causing Yi Juetian to go crazy. He directly carried Gong Yu up, but right now, Gong Yu had already been stripped naked by Yi Juetian and was completely exposed to the air. This kind of figure was really too beautiful, and any normal man would want to do it, let alone a drunk Yi Juetian. Yi Juetian very domineeringly placed Gong Yu on the bed, and Gong Yu got her wish to sleep on this bed. It was really comfortable, especially when she was being pressed down by the man she liked. However, there was still one more thing that she had to do. Gong Yu's gaze became slightly sober. However, Gong Yu directly raised her head and sealed Yi Juetian's mouth, then helped Yi Juetian take off his clothes, and conveniently placed the mirror in her hands. Yi Juetian's eyes were closed, and Gong Yu's eyes were originally closed, but right now, she had no choice but to open her eyes and properly adjust the angle of the mirror. After everything was done, Yi Juetian completely immersed himself in it, appearing especially crazy. However, right now, Gong Yu needed to take the final step, and what was going to happen next would completely deal a blow to Yi. Gong Yu was very curious, would Yi's fragile heart be crushed just like this? Juetian, who is the woman you like the most? Gong Yu quickly asked. Yi Juetian subconsciously replied, but he didn't think too much about it, and was currently kissing every inch of Gong Yu's skin. However, at this moment, inside the prison, Yi heard Yi Juetian's call and immediately took out the mirror. However, the scene today is a bit off. Yi rubbed her eyes. What is Yi doing? Why is he kissing a woman, and the kind where he kisses all over her body? Yi didn't react in time, but when she saw that the woman was Gong Yu, Yi couldn't help but cover her mouth in disbelief. Juetian, we can't do this. At this moment, Gong Yu suddenly started struggling. However, Yi Juetian, who was drunk, became very violent, and he fiercely pressed onto Gong Yu's wrist with both of his hands and continued to take advantage of her. Gong Yu squeezed out her tears and shouted while crying, Juetian, don't do this, you will let Yi down. Yi looked at this scene, listened to this kind of words, and also that disdainful look on Yi's face. Is this still the Yi that I know? Gong Yu's face was already filled with tears, fully acting out the expression of a woman who was violated. Juetian, I beg you, don't do this, what do you want Yi to do? Gong Yu shouted while crying. Yi Juetian's face sunk, seemingly not willing to hear Yi's name. Following Gong Yu's cry of pain, Yi's face was already filled with tears. Yi's cheeks were already streaming with tears. Yay, how could you do such a thing? Gong Yu treated us so well, yet you violated her. Can you still be considered a man? Is this still the Yi that I know? This is simply like the Emperor Yi Hua. Yi couldn't continue looking at this scene anymore and closed the mirror. Meanwhile, Gong Yu, who was on the bed, secretly placed the mirror under her pillow, then revealed a smile on the corner of her mouth as she hugged onto Yi Juetian and gave him a kiss. End of this chapter. Chapter 1099. However, this seemed to be a type of encouraging kiss, causing Yi Juetian to become even more excited. His movements became even more exaggerated, and his speed also caught up to the rhythm. Gong Yu finally experienced what it felt like to be a woman. It felt so good. Comfortable. Also, this feeling of being conquered feels so good. Only a man like this can conquer me, Gong Yu. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night. Yi Hua and Yi Juetian, these two brothers, made two young girls step into the ranks of young married women in a single night. However, it had to be said that the two Yi brothers were very powerful. They fought until dawn. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji woke up very early, and they prepared to go and see the newly married Yuqing. They cried for help for an entire night. It was truly a tragic sight. They only quieted down at dawn. As a result, he didn't sleep well. The two women pushed open the door of the bedroom and quietly walked to the big bed at the back. Yi Hua could be seen lying comfortably on the bed. Where did Yuqing go? Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji were both stupefied. He couldn't have run away, right? Suddenly, a hand grabbed onto Qingye's arm, startling Qingye. F***ck me. It turned out that Qian Yuqing was hiding under the blanket, not daring to come out. Qingye, save me. I am going to die. Qian Yuqing was about to cry. Dong Huang Baiji pouted her mouth and said faintly, if you feel good, then feel good. Don't act pitiful. I can't even deceive you guys. It's boring. Just as Qian Yuqing finished speaking, he felt his entire body being carried. Yi Hua could be seen waking up. Qian Yuqing was scared out of her wits, and she cried out in surprise, Yi Hua, why are you awake? Yi Hua said in a low voice, Yuqing, regarding what happened last night, I'm very sorry. I got drunk. Qian Yuqing heaved a sigh of relief. I see. It's fine. I don't blame you. It's good that you don't blame me, but what I want to say is, I didn't feel anything at all last night, so, you know what I mean. Qian Yuqing was stunned for a moment. Then, she ran for her life. However, Yi Hua's speed became even faster, and he directly pressed Qian Yuqing onto his body. Save me, save me. Qian Yuqing stretched out her hand towards Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji pursed their lips. Just now, I don't know who was the one who said that it felt great. Yi Hua really didn't know what happened last night. I got drunk last night, and I don't even know what I was doing last night. That's why Qian Yuqing, a virgin, didn't even feel the thrill. It was a huge loss. That was why it was said that drinking made things worse. Qian Yuqing was something that the main body had spent a lot of brain cells to get. Originally, he wanted to use a special method on a special day. No. Yesterday was indeed a special day, and a special method was used. F***ck me. Yesterday was the darkest day of my life. Yi Hua, don't, can you let me rest for a few days? Qian Yuqing pleaded for leniency. She was truly scared. This was simply like a bull, running on the path of life with no regard for its own life. It was extremely terrifying. Yihua didn't pay attention to Qingye and Donghuang Baiji. Yihua turned his head around and looked towards Qingye and Donghuang Baiji. If you want to stay behind, you can come with us. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji pouted their mouths. You two can slowly play. Yihua, don't break Yuqing. After finished speaking, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji left. Of course, Yihua wouldn't let Qingye and Donghuang Baiji stay. After all, they were the prey that he had taken down with great difficulty. Yuqing. Yihua stroked Qian Yuqing's hair. Qian Yuqing revealed out a wronged expression, as if she was being abused by Yihua. That pitiful look of hers really made one feel pity for her. Yuqing, what's with that expression of yours? Yihua, I beg of you, woo, what else could Qian Yuqing do? She could only plead for leniency. Yihua took a deep breath, then revealed out a look of understanding. All right, since Yuqing is pleading for leniency, as a husband, I should agree to it. Yihua is the best. Qian Yuqing was delighted. But, along with the word Yihua, Qian Yuqing's expression became bitter. There's actually a but behind the word. Yihua could be seen whispering into Qian Yuqing's ear, let me experience it once more. Qian Yuqing bit onto her lips. If it's just once, I can still accept it. Is it really just once? Qian Yuqing asked sincerely. Yihua revealed out a smile, I never lie. Yihua, I believe you. Then, let us begin. Yet another little sheep believed the words of the big bad wolf. One can believe anything, but one must not believe this mouth of Yihua's. However, after this bloody lesson, Qian Yuqing would never fall for Yihua's tricks again. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji already knew of Yihua's character. On the bed, out of 10 sentences that Yihua said, 9 would be lies, and 1 would be even more lies. However, inside Yi Juetian's bedroom, this was probably the situation that Yi Juetian did not want to see the most. Right now, Yi Juetian was rubbing his temples. His head was very painful and very heavy, and he was also very thirsty. Just what happened yesterday? I seem to have been drinking, and I don't know what happened after drinking. Yi Juetian let out a breath. I feel that my body is a bit different. I have never felt this kind of feeling before. It is that kind of feeling where flesh and flesh are touching each other. This caused Yi Juetian to swallow his saliva, then lower his head to take a look. This is a head full of beautiful hair, and Gong Yu is actually lying on my shoulder. How is this possible? This is impossible. Yi Juetian slowly opened up the blanket, and when he saw the scene inside, Yi Juetian's face did not have any redness, and was instead pale. It's over, Yi Juetian felt a splitting headache. Why did he do that to Gong Yu? Why can't I remember anything yesterday? Gong Yu let out a gentle sound that was very pleasant to the ears. She even found a comfortable spot to sleep. This was probably the happiest night of Gong Yu's life. Yi Juetian was in despair. How was he going to explain this to Yi? There was no way to explain it. He had done something wrong to her. Does Big Brother have any experience in this area? If Yihua was the one teaching, there was no need to think too much about it, and he would be able to summarize it with a single word. Lie. I can add one more word, and that is act. Thinking back then, I, the Supreme Overlord, and my 2 wives were always at odds with each other. Back then, I, the Supreme Overlord, and my 2 wives were always at odds with each other. Back then, I, the Supreme Overlord, and my 2 wives still don't know about it. If they knew about it, I, the Supreme Overlord, would definitely die. In fact, Gong Yu had already woken up. She just wanted to lie down a little longer because she wouldn't be able to lie down anymore. After all, what happened yesterday would definitely not happen again. After an unknown period of time, Gongyu slowly opened her eyes, and their gazes met. Sorry. Sorry. The two of them spoke in unison. Yi Juetian and Gongyu both went into a daze for a moment. Yi Juetian's apology was definitely directed towards what happened yesterday, while Gongyu's apology was actually to express that she did not reject Yi Juetian's apology. The atmosphere was a bit awkward. End of this chapter. Chapter 1100. Ju Tian, don't worry. I won't tell Yi about this. Just pretend that nothing happened between us. Gongyu took the initiative to say. She hoped to use such a shameful method to make absolute heaven have feelings for her. Who knows, maybe, in order to be responsible, absolute heaven would submit to her. However, Gongyu had underestimated Yi Juetian. Really? Yi Juetian cried out in surprise. Gongyu was speechless. This Yi Juetian. You did that to me last night, how could I pretend nothing happened? He actually agreed to her words. Don't tell me you like that Yi that much. What's so good about that woman? Isn't she just an ordinary person? I've already sacrificed myself for her. Don't tell me you don't want to take responsibility for it. Do you know how many men want me? Gongyu smiled bitterly, it's true. Looking at Gongyu's expression, Yi Juetian was also very regretful. Why did he do such a thing last night and tarnish Gongyu? If Yi knew about this, she would definitely not forgive him. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Yi Juetian apologized sincerely. This was all his fault, and he couldn't blame anyone else. Gongyu revealed a desolate expression and said indifferently, it's nothing. It's not a big deal. After saying that, he stood up, put on the clothes that had fallen to the side, walked back to his room, and closed the door. Although Gongyu had guessed this result, it was still hard for her to accept it when it really happened. After all, she was also a girl and hoped to be loved by a man. However, at such an important moment, there was no comfort at all. Yi Juetian didn't feel too good either. Looking at Gongyu's miserable back view, he felt that he had let her down. Gongyu had helped him so much, yet he had done such a despicable thing. He felt really guilty. After taking a deep breath, Yi Juetian foolishly sat on his bed. He wanted to solve this problem, but no matter how he thought about it, he found that he couldn't solve this problem. Since it had already happened, could it be possible to turn back time? After putting on his clothes, Yi Juetian froze for a moment. Where was the mirror? He immediately searched the bed and finally found it under the pillow. He heaved a sigh of relief. He thought he had lost it. That would be troublesome. Looking at the mirror in his hand, Yi Juetian really wanted to call out Yi's name. However, after what he had done yesterday, how could he have the face to call out Yi's name? Even if he did, how was he going to explain this to Yi? Tell the truth. Or was it a lie? Yi Juetian simply couldn't imagine the outcome of these two scenarios. Yi had sacrificed so much for me, but Yi Juetian held his head in his hands, feeling extremely uncomfortable. He regretted it so much. Drinking made things worse. However, Yi, who was in the heavenly prison, seemed to be waiting for Yi Juetian to explain what had happened yesterday. But after waiting for a long time, Ye didn't come looking for him. Why? Does Ye not want me anymore? Impossible. However, the things that happened yesterday are still vivid in my mind. Ye had defiled Gongyu, and Gongyu was resisting. Just as Yi was waiting, she suddenly heard a sobbing sound. Yi stood up and saw that Gongyu had arrived. There were traces of tears on her pretty face, and she was sobbing softly. Yi. Gong Yu directly passed through the iron pole and threw herself into Yi's embrace while crying bitterly. Yi was taken aback. There was disappointment on her face, but she still gently stroked Gong Yu's back, as if this could comfort Gong Yu. Don't cry. Yi was feeling pain in her heart. The person that she liked actually did such a thing last night, and Gong Yu was actually crying in front of her. Gong Yu was indeed crying, and she felt very wronged. Therefore, her crying was real, but Gong Yu didn't want to waste her tears. Even if she was going to cry, she had to cry with value. Therefore, she ran into the heavenly prison and cried in front of Yi. After a long while, Gong Yu finally calmed down. It's fine now, Gong Yu said in a low voice. Yi didn't know what to say. Gong Yu shouldn't know that I saw something that I shouldn't have seen last night, right? Gong Yu, actually, I saw everything that happened last night. Yi couldn't help but say. When Yi said that, Yi felt as if her heart was going to split apart. Gong Yu revealed out an astonished expression. She is also a great actress. With an incomparably astonished expression, she said, Yi, what did you see? Gong Yu asked this intentionally, wanting to tear open Yi's scars. It was as if she was reminding Yi that while I was having fun with Yi Juetian yesterday, you, Yi, could only stay in this ice-cold and damp heavenly prison. Following Gong Yu's question, that dirty scene automatically jumped out from Yi's mind, and said gravely, I saw everything that happened between you and Ye yesterday through the mirror. What? Yi, don't misunderstand, Ju Tian, it was me who seduced Ju Tian, don't blame Ju Tian, it is all my fault. After finished speaking, Gong Yu even gave herself a slap. Yi was stupefied, and hurriedly pulled onto Gong Yu, I saw everything, it was Ye who forced you. Gong Yu went into a daze, and soon after, 2 streams of tears flowed out from her eyes, and she once again threw herself into Yi's embrace and cried bitterly. She was simply playing the role of a victim to the fullest, and furthermore, she was even that kind of perfect victim, yet she still wanted to hide a secret. Yi, I'm sorry, Gong Yu said while crying bitterly. Gong Yu, you didn't let me down, it was Ye who let you down. Yi said helplessly. Last night, she didn't even sleep at all, and had been thinking about this problem the entire time. Could it be that I have to choose to forgive Ye? Would I? Yi didn't know if I would, and she felt very uncomfortable in her heart. She really hoped that there would be someone who could come and enlighten her. However, right now, I am still comforting others. Who is going to comfort me? Don't you all know that I am the one who is feeling the most uncomfortable? Gong Yu wiped away the tears that were at the corner of her eyes, then said in a low voice, Yi, don't blame Ju Tian, men are like this sometimes, they won't be able to hold themselves back. Don't take it to heart, Ju Tian still likes you. Hearing what Yi said, Yi felt even more uncomfortable. I don't have any friends in this palace. Yi, I only have you as my friend. Gong Yu said pitifully. Her acting skills were definitely top-notch. Yi suddenly discovered that Gong Yu was very similar to herself. I don't have any friends in this palace, and I was even looked down upon by everyone and mocked by everyone. Only Gong Yu didn't despise me, and Gong Yu was also the only person who treated me well in this palace. Yi was very touched. I only have you as my friend. Yi said lightly, and soon after, she let out a breath. Right at this moment, Yi's mirror rang, and Yi Juetian's voice could be heard. Gong Yu's expression changed. Yi, don't tell Ju Tian that I'm here, I'm scared that he... Gong Yu could be seen to have a look of fear on her face, as if she was going to be beaten up by Yi Juetian. End of this chapter. Chapter 1101. Seeing Gong Yu like this, Yi couldn't help but feel a little angry. How could Ye bully others like this? You've ruined someone else's innocence. Did he want others to not tell him? Yi took out a mirror, and Yi Juetian was currently smiling, as if nothing had happened. This made Yi very angry. You bullied Gongyue, and you can still laugh. Don't you feel guilty at all? Yi Juetian thought for a long time and decided not to say it for the time being. When he calmed down one day, he would come clean with Yi and try to get Yi's understanding. However, Yi Juetian was completely unaware that at this moment, Gongyu had already gone to find Yi to complain about her troubles, making Yi Juetian into a heartless man. Gongyu stood at the side and sneaked a peek. Seeing that Yi Juetian actually revealed a smile, she felt very happy in her heart. Absolute heaven, if you lie to Yi now, the consequences will be very serious. At that time, Yi will dump you. But it doesn't matter. Who asked me, Gongyu, to like you so much? Yi doesn't want you, but I, Gongyu, want you. So, absolute heaven, you have to treat me better in the future. What's wrong? Yi Juetian noticed that Yi's expression was very strange and asked in a deep voice. Yi pulled a long face and was very unhappy. Could it be that Ye was planning to hide this matter? Are you trying to lie to yourself? How could you do this? You clearly said before that there are no secrets between us. How long has it been, and he's already prepared to lie to me? Yi squeezed out a smile. It's nothing, Ye, do you have something to tell me? Yi had decided on one thing. If Yi was honest this time and apologized to Gongyu, then she would forgive him. But if he was still stubborn, then she would ignore him. Yi Juetian really wanted to say what happened last night, but when he saw Yi, he was afraid that if he said it, he would lose Yi. This conflicted feeling gave Yi Juetian a headache. I just miss you. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Yi was a bit disappointed, while Gongyu, who was at the side, was quite happy. Keep lying, and Yi will give up. However, Yi still planned to give Yi Juetian one last chance. Yay, did you sleep well last night? Yi asked with a smile. Yay, don't lie to me anymore, please. Yi Juetian's heart sank. Did he sleep well last night? He didn't even know what happened last night. Yi, did you sleep well last night? Don't worry, I will think of all ways to save you. Just bear with it for a few more days. Yi Juetian used a way to change the topic. Not to mention, Yi Hua would also use this move sometimes. This move of changing the topic was indeed very useful. Seems like this is also inherited in the family. Yi Hua is like this, and even Yi Juetian is like this. Right now, Yi Juetian is also starting to lie to his wife. There is basically no need to teach him at all. Hearing Yi Juetian's words, Yi's heart was completely shattered. Why did he have to hide such a big thing from her? Don't tell me you don't trust me. Yi Juetian was too afraid of losing her, which was why he acted like this. After all, he cared too much about her. I'm tired. I don't want to talk anymore. Yi said softly. She directly kept the mirror. Her heart ached. Seeing that the mirror had darkened, Yi Juetian noticed that Yi was different. However, he did not know why this was the case. There was a strange feeling in his heart. Why did Yi say that she was tired? In the past, even if they chatted until late at night, she would still be energetic. If not for him asking Yi to sleep, she would not have gone to sleep. And today, Yi actually took the initiative to say that she wanted to go to sleep. Could it be that Yi is blaming me? However, she was still fine yesterday. Why did this happen? Yi Juetian was unable to understand. In the imperial prison, Gongyu was the happiest, especially when she saw the two of them quarreling. She had profited greatly. Yi, don't be too angry. Gongyu said gently and patted on Yi's shoulder. Yi said tenderly, Gongyu, I apologize to you on behalf of Ye. In actuality, from these words, it could be seen that Yi seemed to still be willing to give Yi Juetian a chance. If not, she wouldn't have said such words. Gong Yu was naturally able to tell that this Yi actually chose to forgive. Why is your heart so big? The man that you like is so bad, yet you actually chose to forgive him. Are you that stupid? No need, this might be my fate. In any case, I am also his fake wife. However, no matter how fake I am, I still have to act for others to see. At that time, I still have to give birth to a child. If not, the Big Brother Emperor will not let this matter go. Gong Yu directly threw the blame onto Yi Hua. Yi's heart was being tortured over and over again, but she still had to force a smile on her face. Sometimes, Yi would think that if she was beaten to death that day, it would also be a kind of release. Seeing that Yi was suffering, Gong Yu felt great in her heart. She continued and said, Yi, I will be leaving first then. Jietian and I will think of a way to save you. After finished speaking, Gong Yu disappeared. Right now, Yi hated herself for not having the ability to save herself. If it was possible, I would want to save myself and not need anyone's help. Because, I feel really bad. I am just like a burden, causing others to worry, and I even have to take risks. Lightly touching the mirror, Yi wished that Yi Juetian would tell the truth to me. Although I would get angry, at least I would know that Ye wouldn't lie to me. Could it be that I am not trustworthy anymore? Yi Juetian laid on the bed, and Gong Yu's body fragrance lingered on the blanket. This caused Yi Juetian to immediately sit up and change the blanket. The matter that happened yesterday night was a mistake. 3 days passed by very quickly. Yi Juetian discovered that Yi had changed a lot, and became a lot colder towards him. I don't even know why it is like this. Could it be that I did something wrong? Why did it become like this? Towards this kind of matter, Yi Juetian felt very sad. Every time he saw Yi's attitude, his entire body would tremble. Meanwhile, Gong Yu was no different from usual during these few days. It was as if nothing happened that night. Yi Juetian also felt guilty in his heart, and thus, he treated Gong Yu very well, to the point where it seemed as if he would agree to all of Gong Yu's requests. Wherever Gong Yu wanted to go, Yi Juetian's figure would be by her side. The two of them were just like lovers, at least in the eyes of the palace maids. However, the palace maids discovered one thing: the emperor had already not appeared for a few days. During these few days, Yi Hua seemed to have been doing one thing, and that was pacifying his spoils of war. During these few days, Qian Yuqing finally knew what was called ferocious. Whenever she saw Yi Hua, she would feel scared. Yuqing, are you happy? Yi Hua hugged onto Qian Yuqing, who was in his embrace, and Qian Yuqing didn't even have the strength to open her eyes. In fact, she didn't even want to speak anymore. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. So, Yuqing is still not happy. Seems like your husband is still not doing enough. Hearing what Yi Hua said, Qian Yuqing felt as if all of her strength had surged into her body. No. Husband is doing enough, it is Yuqing who is unable to bear it. End of this chapter. Chapter 1102. I like hearing that. Yi Hua was very inflated. I'm a man, after all men want to conquer a woman. Of course, I hope that the woman will say that I am formidable. Could it be that I want the woman to say that I am incapable and that it will be over in just a few minutes? Just a moment ago, Qian Yuqing was shocked, and right now, she became pitiful again. Yi Hua, I promise that I will be obedient in the future, but you can't bully me like this. Qingya and Baiji will laugh at me. Yuqing, they are all experienced people, and they have been tortured by me quite a lot in the past. Furthermore, you are a newlywed. Yi Hua sniffed, Sniff, sniff, I will be obedient, okay? Xian Yuqing would start acting coquettishly the moment she got into a disagreement, and on this point, she was a bit similar to Qin Yutong. When he thought of his sister-in-law, he didn't know what she was doing. She had been out for a while. I don't know if those women have helped me draw the hatred. If there isn't, hee, you women, don't come back. Aren't you going to wake up? Yihua asked curiously. Xian Yuqing pouted. Look at me. Can I still stand up? Sigh, I'll get used to it. Xian Yuqing pouted her cherry lips and hammered Yihua unhappily. However, Yihua turned his head around. Keep a straight face. Xian Yuqing was startled. She lowered her head and said embarrassedly, I'm sorry. She felt wronged in her heart. I just lightly hammered you. Don't be like this. However, right after she finished thinking, she felt a kiss on her forehead, and soon after, she saw Yihua who was smiling mischievously. I'm just teasing you, idiot. Yihua said faintly. On the bed, clothes. Xian Yuqing really wanted to use her small fists to hammer Yihua until he fainted. Not only is this scoundrel bullying people, he is also scaring people. Much worse than before. However, he was more understanding than before. Yihua directly went to his mother's bedroom. After all, it had been a few days since he last went to his mother's bedroom. Within Lu Jing's bedroom, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were accompanying Lu Jing by her side. Daji had also come out. Seeing that her master had arrived, Daji called out respectfully, Master. Yihua waved his hand and said lightly, Mother. Seeing that his mother didn't seem to be acting strangely, Yihua felt a bit more at ease. Yihua, you must know how to control yourself, your body is important. Lu Jing chuckled. Of course, she knew that her son had been spoiling Yuqing these days. This was a good thing. If Yuqing could get pregnant soon, she might be able to have a look. Yihua laughed lightly, Mother, my body is very good, what are you two doing? Mother, are you knitting a sweater for your little grandson? Qingye and Baiji are still the ones who are so skilled, Mother had to learn for a few days before she could do it. Lu Jing said with a smile while knitting a sweater. Yihua let out a puzzled sound, little grandson. Yeah, Yuqing will definitely have a baby. And your younger brother, Gongyu will have a baby too, Lu Jing said with a loving smile. Yihua asked gravely, Xiao Tian and Gongyu slept together. Qingye nodded her head. At the start, she also found it hard to believe, Yihua, I heard from the palace maid that the two of them have indeed slept together, and these few days, the two of them can be said to be inseparable. Xiao Tian seems to be taking care of Gongyu a lot, bringing Gongyu around the palace, and sometimes, he would even go out of the palace to play. There is such a thing. Yihua found it hard to believe. This little brother of mine has changed too quickly, right? However, this was also good. If he could see Yi's true colors earlier, he wouldn't be too sad in the future. Donghuang Baiji said with a smile, That's right, when do you plan to let them get married? Yihua, I think that we should make preparations for this matter in advance, what do you think? Lu Jing asked lightly, handing the decision over to Yihua. Yihua also felt that this matter should be settled. I don't want to wait until I become pregnant before getting married. Alright, I will call the two of them over and ask them about the situation. Yihua said faintly. After all, it was still better to let Yi Juetian make the decision himself. That's good too, let's ask the two of them for their opinion. These few days, the two of them have really been sticking to each other like glue. Lu Jing said with a smile. Right now, the two of them were really happy and harmonious. Yihua immediately sent a voice transmission to Yi Juetian, telling him to bring Gongyu to his mother's bedroom. Yi Juetian and Gongyu were currently in the backyard, and when they heard that their big brother came, they immediately prepared to head over. In actuality, Yi Juetian didn't want to accompany Gong Yu, but he felt guilty in his heart, and thus, he could only use this method to atone for his crime. However, the news that Prince Yi and Gong Yu had a very good relationship, and right now, the only thing lacking was a wedding ceremony. Using their fastest speed, Yi Juetian and Gong Yu rushed over to Lu Jing's bedroom. Mother, big brother, sister-in-law. Yi Juetian greeted respectfully. Gong Yu, who was at the side, could now greet them like this, and she obediently said, Mother, big brother, sister-in-law. After greeting them, Gong Yu still carried a bit of shyness. Lu Jing was very happy. Right now, the two of them are inseparable. This is truly great. Look at Gong Yu, how obedient, standing slightly behind little Tian. Although it wasn't a lot, it was enough to express her attitude. This was what Lu Jing liked about Gong Yu. Just like Qingye and the others, Gong Yu would always stand behind Yi Hua, and not in front of Yi Hua. This was a basic common sense for women. One definitely cannot stand in front of one's husband, that would be a very rude display. At the very least, this was what Lu Jing thought in her heart. Big brother, what did you call us over for? Yi Juetian asked. Yi Hua asked faintly, I heard that you two have already slept together. As people who had experienced it, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji's faces didn't turn red, and their hearts didn't jump. However, Gong Yu was different. Big brother actually directly asked about it, so shy. Just by looking at Gong Yu's expression, everyone knew that such a thing happened. Lu Jing was very gratified. Little Tian, in the future, after you become a husband, you have to be responsible, don't be as hot-tempered as you were in the past. What else could Yi Juetian say? Sleeping together is a fact, everyone in the palace knows about it, and I even feel that. Yi also knows about it. This is also the reason why Yi is so cold towards me. Mother, I understand. Yi Juetian said helplessly. Right now, Yi is still locked up by Big Brother, so I have to calm down and not act recklessly. Yi Hua asked towards Gong Yu, you two have been together for a period of time now, how do you feel about little Tian? Gong Yu said shyly, Big brother, Zhu Tian treats me very well, very considerate, and also takes good care of me, I like him a lot. After finished speaking, Gong Yu lowered her head and looked at her toes. This caused Lu Jing to be happy. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji seemed to have seen themselves in the past. Right now, they were already an old couple, and there was no longer that kind of shyness anymore. Other than when Yi Hua was saying sweet nothings to you, you would get goosebumps all over your body. That's good then. Little Tian, what do you think about Gong Yu? Yi Hua asked again. Yi Juetian said lightly, Big brother, Gong Yu is a good girl, she is virtuous, she is very good. Since she is very good, Big brother wants to ask you, are you willing to marry Gong Yu? Yi Hua asked faintly. Yi Juetian became silent. He didn't straightforwardly tell Gong Yu his decision, causing Gong Yu to feel a bit sad. End of chapter. Chapter 1103. After all, Yi Juetian had hesitated. If he had said it without hesitation, he would have been extremely happy. Big brother, can I have a word with you? Yi Juetian looked at Yi Hua and said with a pleading gaze. Yi Hua nodded his head, all right. After the two brothers walked out of the door, Yi Hua waved his hand, and all of the palace maids left. If you have anything to say, just say it. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Yi Juetian looked at his big brother smoking and said, Big brother, can you give me one as well? Yi Hua took a look at Yi Juetian, then passed one over to him. Yi Juetian took a deep breath and immediately choked. A child even smokes. Yi Hua puffed out a mouthful of smoke and said faintly. Yi Juetian sighed in his heart. Was he just a child in his big brother's eyes? The two brothers just stood outside and smoked. Throwing the cigarette but on the ground, Yi Juetian extinguished it and said in a solemn voice, "Big brother, I can marry Gong Yu." "What condition?" Yi Hua asked faintly. "Although I haven't interacted with this blood-related little brother of mine for a long time, since this little brother of mine wants to talk to me alone, this little brother of mine definitely has a purpose. Can you release Yi?" Yi Juetian pleaded. This might be his only chance, the only chance to save Yi. He couldn't let Yi be locked up in the imperial prison forever. Yi Hua knew that this was the condition. "What, are you still unwilling to give up?" Yi Hua asked faintly. Of course, Yi Juetian wouldn't give up, but he couldn't say it now. "Big brother, I only have one request. Let her leave the palace. Regardless of whether she is a spy or not, she won't be able to harm us," Yi Juetian said solemnly. "Little Tian, she caused mother's lifespan to be shortened for so long. Do you think that big brother would be able to let her out of the palace so easily?" Yi Hua said coldly, and a cold intent shot out from his pair of eyes. Yi Juetian didn't even know how to beg anymore. He could only brace himself and say, "Big brother, I'm begging you, okay? Just let little brother do it this time. I promise to listen to you in the future." After hearing that, Yi Hua did not say anything, and once again, he took out a stick of cigarette and started smoking. After a long time, he said indifferently, "Fine. Big brother can promise you." "Really?" Yi Juetian was elated. His big brother actually agreed. "However, I will not let Yi out of the palace," Yi Hua said coldly. "Why?" Yi Juetian didn't understand. What was the difference? Yi Hua said gravely, "This Yi was sent by Huang Feidi. If I were to release her just like that, what difference would there be between me and admitting defeat? I want to see what else this Yi can do." Hearing his big brother's words, Yi Juetian's heart turned cold. His big brother was fighting against Huang Feidi, and Yi was just a chess piece in the middle. "What do you think? If you agree, big brother can arrange it now. Yi is definitely not going to be released. It is already a kind of benevolence of the universe that I, the Supreme Overlord, am not going to kill her, and Yi is still thinking of releasing the palace. That was absolutely impossible. He had missed her for the rest of his life. Unless he was dead." Yi Juetian sank into deep thought. Although he couldn't leave the palace, it was still better than bringing him to the imperial prison. Anyway, her big brother would let her get married in the future, so why not fight for a chance? After all, it was also a crime for Yi to be locked up in the celestial prison. Was Yi supposed to stay in the celestial prison for the rest of her life? "Alright, big brother, I promise you," Yi Juetian said gravely. Yi Hua nodded his head, then asked, "Do you hate big brother?" "Little Tian, I know that everything big brother does is for my own good." Yi Juetian didn't lie, he still understood this bit of logic. Yi Hua was very gratified as he patted onto Yi Juetian's shoulder. "Little Tian, in the future, live well with Gong Yu. If you want a woman, big brother can help you find one, but you have to keep your eyes open. Don't be tempted by beauty, your enemies are all cunning." "And, big brother, I understand." Yi Juetian nodded his head. "Now that things have come to this, I can only do this." "Alright, let's go in," Yi Hua said lightly, then walked into the house. Lu Jing looked at the two brothers walking into the house, then asked with a smile, "What secret are you two talking about that you can't let us know?" Gong Yu lightly bit onto her lips and clenched her fists, appearing to be very nervous. "Although I don't know what they are talking about, I feel that it is definitely related to marriage." "Mother!" Yi Juetian shouted out respectfully. "Mother, I want to get married to Gong Yu," Yi Juetian said. After hearing that, Gong Yu went into a daze and looked at Yi Juetian dumbfoundedly. Lu Jing also became absent-minded. Little Tian has grown up and is starting to become sensible. Meanwhile, Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji felt that the two brothers definitely came to some sort of agreement just now outside. If not, Yi Juetian wouldn't have agreed to it so straightforwardly. As for what he agreed to do, it should most likely be related to Yi. Good, this is a good thing. Yi Hua, little Tian's wedding will be handed over to you. Lu Jing was very happy. To be able to see her youngest son getting married while she was still alive was also a kind of satisfaction. Yi Hua said lightly, "Mother, don't worry, I will definitely hold a grand wedding." Right now, Gong Yu was very excited. No matter what sort of agreement Yi Juetian and Big Brother came to, I will finally be able to officially enter Yi family. Yi Juetian said respectfully, "I have troubled mother, Big Brother, and sister-in-law with regards to my matters." Lu Jing laughed lightly, "Little Tian, there is no need to be so courteous since we are family. Seriously, I have to make some arrangements as well. What kind of things do I have to prepare?" Seeing that his mother was so happy, Yi Hua felt very happy in his heart. However, the matter that he promised his little brother, Yi Hua would definitely do it. Yi will be released, but she will definitely not take care of mother. After all, I only have one last bottle of medicine left, and I cannot let Yi use it again. If that happens, mother will really die. With Daji watching over, I am also very at ease. As for Yi's arrangements, I will just let her go to the woodshed, she won't be able to cause any big trouble. After coming to this decision, Yi Hua went to make the arrangements. Within the imperial prison. During these few days, Yi had become a lot skinnier, and it seemed like she was showing signs of depression. Yi had been waiting for Yi Juetian to come clean with her every single day, but every single time, Yi would be disappointed. Yi Juetian didn't plan to tell her anything at all. Time to eat. Just as Yi was in a daze, a palace maid came over with the food. Looking at the food, it seemed like it was leftovers. In fact, it even had a bit of a strange smell, it was rancid, there was no helping it, Yi was just that enviable. "Thank you." Yi was still very polite. No matter how other people treated her, Yi would always maintain her original intentions and not fight with others. The palace maid snorted coldly, "Why didn't you get beaten to death by Prince Yi? It is truly a miracle that you are still alive." Yi took out the food from underneath the table. However, when the palace maid saw that Yi was ignoring her, she became furious. The palace maid kicked the food over, and the food even landed on Yi's hand. That hand of Yi's fiercely smashed onto the metal pole. Yi was in so much pain that cold sweat began flowing out of her body. End of this chapter. Chapter 1104. Look at you. You should be killed. Living is just a waste of food. The palace maid snorted coldly and left without even turning her head back. Yi held onto her hand and didn't say anything. Looking at the food that was scattered on the floor, Yi endured the pain and placed the food into her bowl. Tears of helplessness flowed out from the corner of her eyes. At this moment, the sound of armor rubbing against each other could be heard, causing Yi to raise her head to take a look. Two black-armored warriors walked over, and behind them was a female official. Yi wiped her hands and hurriedly stood up. Not knowing what was going to happen, she felt afraid. However, the bad thing that Yi imagined didn't happen. The black-armored warriors directly opened the cage. Yi was very confused. What are they doing? At this moment, the female official walked over and said softly, "Follow me." "Me? Can I go out now?" Yi slightly frowned and asked, a little disbelieving. The female official nodded her head, "Yes, you can come out now." The corner of Yi's mouth gradually curved up. I can really go out now. Could it be that Yi did it outside? It must be Ye, if not, I wouldn't be able to go out so quickly. But Ye, why didn't you tell me the truth? There shouldn't be any secrets between us. Hurry up. Seeing that Yi was still in a daze, the female official couldn't help but shout out. Oh, I'm coming out now. Yi walked out of the heavenly prison, looked up at the sky, and breathed in the familiar air, as if she had been reborn. Female official, where are we going? Yi asked softly. The female official said gravely, you are going to work in the woodshed. Woodshed? Yi muttered. After doing such a thing, it was definitely possible for her to serve the Empress Dowager. Toward such an arrangement, Yi didn't object, and even felt that it should be done. The woodshed was further away and more secluded, but in any case, it was still inside the imperial palace, which was definitely better than the heavenly prison. In the imperial palace, there was no such thing as eunuchs, all of them were palace maids. After all, Yihua wasn't interested in looking at men and transvestites. The palace maids that were sent to the woodshed looked pretty, but those that used palace maids to chop firewood were reckoned to be from Wushu Empire. In the future, you will work here, don't run around. Otherwise, I will not let you off lightly. The female official said coldly. This jinx almost caused her to lose her job. He could not understand how such a person could walk out of the imperial prison alive. If it were him, he would have surely killed him. Yes, I understand, Yi said respectfully. The assistant snorted coldly, turned around, and left. Yi heaved a sigh of relief and turned to look at the woodshed, only to see 2 or 3 palace maids working. Of course it was to chop firewood. Hello everyone, my name is Yi. Yi walked in front of them and greeted politely. However, the palace maid only glanced at Yi and continued with her work. Yi lowered her head in silence. She mimicked the others and prepared to chop firewood. But when Yi picked up the axe, she realized that the axe was really heavy. She couldn't swing it at all. Actually, this woodshed was more like a place of punishment. Whenever a palace maid made a mistake, they would be brought here to chop firewood. They would only be released if they performed well. However, Yi was going to spend the rest of her life here. In Lu Jing's bedroom, a discussion had just ended, and the matter of the marriage had been decided. Marriage was a big matter, and Yihua naturally had to bring all of his subordinates to attend. Right now, Yi Zizi was still busy with work, so he still had to wait. There was also his mother's illness that needed to be treated. The wedding was set for 4 months later. By then, Yi Zizi and the others would have more or less finished their work and could come back to attend the wedding. Gong Yu was very happy today, her wish was fulfilled. How can an ordinary woman win against me, Gong Yu? Yihua walked out of the room and lit a cigarette. After all, it wasn't good to smoke in the room. I can't let them breathe in secondhand smoke, right? Big brother. She has been released. Yihua said faintly. Yi Juetian was happy. As long as she is released, everything will be fine. Yi won't have to suffer in the imperial prison anymore. Big brother, thank you. Yi Juetian said sincerely. He knew what kind of person his big brother was, to be able to let Yi live was already giving him a lot of face. Yihua didn't say anything and stretched out his hand. Yi Juetian went into a daze. Big brother, what are you doing? Yi Juetian had a bad feeling, just like the bamboo tube that was confiscated that day. Yihua said faintly, you are already married now, don't think about those useless things. I have already said it like this, how could Yi Juetian still not understand? He obediently took out the mirror and placed it on Yihua's palm. The mirror instantly turned into dust in Yihua's hand, and he said coldly, if I find out what kind of method you used to contact me, don't blame me for being merciless. I got it. Yi Juetian said in a low voice. Originally, I wanted to ask Yi about it, but from the looks of it now, I won't have the chance to do so. She is a spy, do you understand? She was sent by Huang Feidi. Yi Hua said gravely, then walked into the room. Yi Juetian didn't believe that Yi was a spy. This was a thought that emerged from the bottom of his heart. Yi definitely wasn't that kind of person. Yi Hua felt bored standing in the room. Qingya looked like she was taking care of everything. As expected of a strong woman, the way she does things is still as nimble as before. With this, I can finally relax a little. Returning to the bedroom, Yi Hua saw that Qian Yuqing was still sleeping. Still sleeping. Yi Hua sat at the side and lightly moved aside Qian Yuqing's beautiful hair. Looking at Qian Yuqing's beautiful face, Yi Hua felt a bit more comfortable in his heart. Qian Yuqing slowly opened her eyes, then used her cheek to rub against Yi Hua's palm. Yi Hua, your palm is so warm, so comfortable. My embrace is even warmer. Yi Hua pinched onto Qian Yuqing's cheek and said lightly. And very comfortable. Qian Yuqing was currently enjoying it very much. I finally completed my wish, this feeling is really good. Perhaps, not too long later, I will be able to get pregnant with Yi Hua's child, and the child will definitely be a very obedient child. However, I hope that the child won't be like Yi Hua's personality. Little Tian is going to get married. Yi Hua said lightly. Qian Yuqing's gaze became much more serious as she cried out in surprise, Little Tian is going to get married? With who? Seems like you know quite a lot of things. Yi Hua said gravely. Seeing that Yi Hua was about to flip out, Qian Yuqing became afraid, and she didn't even dare to look straight at Yi Hua's gaze. Yi Hua asked faintly, tell me, should I hit you or not? I should. Qian Yuqing said feeling wronged. Qian Yuqing is already your wife, and yet you still hit me. Don't you feel sorry for your wife? Yi Hua stretched out his hand and flicked onto Qian Yuqing's forehead. If you continue to help me, I will let you experience what it means to not get down from the bed for a month. Understood. Qian Yuqing said pitifully. That obedient look of hers caused Yi Hua to become a bit restless again. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.